thank you for joining us on this special broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very, very newsy year. First of all, thank you for being with us through this year. This is a first. This format is a first. I have with us Shravan to my left, Arnab, our editor-in-chief, to the right, Abhishek Kapoor, our senior executive editor. I have Ridhamanand Bardwaj, executive editor, legal affairs, and Aishwarya Kapoor, political affairs editor. And let me first up tell you that 2025 was a fantastic year, and this is a new format. By the way, we've had a great feedback, Arnab, for the AMA format that we did a few days back. People are saying, why don't we do it every single week? I don't know whether we can do it every week.
We're not the news.
We have to do the news. But today what we will do is, over the next couple of hours, we'll look back and we'll try and relive a year that perhaps tested India's resolve. 2025 will be remembered for moments that shook the nation. At that point, I'm going to stop and get a quick word from all of us here. For me personally, Arnab, I'll start with you, was one of the most newsiest years that we have seen in a newsroom.
Absolutely. I mean, what happened between the 22nd of April and the 10th of May will never be forgotten in history. We've always had expectations we'll hit Pakistan, but Operation Sindhur between 6th and 7th, when it happened, that morning when it happened, right up to when it ended, it will remember, I will always remember it as a defining moment in our ability to hit back. Besides which, every year has news moments. Every year has this news moment. This year had more downs than ups, if I may say, for us as a country. That's how I would look back at 25.
Shravan?
Well, in fact, some of the defining moments, in fact, I recall what happened on 22nd of April. The visit of the Vice President of the United States of America. It was that very moment when perhaps he was about to go on a dais and address the people there. At that very moment, a news break actually happened. In fact, this came in with the first information, came in with our bureau chief from Srinagar saying that there was an attack that actually took place. As a newsmaker, as people inside the newsroom, the first response was that, what exactly has happened? Where is it? Yeah. The first image and the most defining image, and perhaps none of us in the newsroom would ever forget, what is supposed to be a pleasant vacation for many in the meadows of Jammu and Kashmir turned out to be one of the biggest nightmares. Pakistani-backed terrorists entering Jammu and Kashmir around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. And the bloodbath that took place, a massacre that took place, Pakistani-backed terrorists who had carried this out. Yeah. And interestingly, just about a week before, I would say failed marshal, not field marshal, failed marshal Asif Munir had already threatened. So we knew there was something that was coming. Yeah. And that, I think so, is the biggest moment which changed perhaps the way we look at things right now. Yeah. It has changed our doctrine. It has changed the way we carry forward.
Should we start with Pahalgam then?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, let's, now that Shravan is, led us into Pahalgam, do you want to lead us into that moment when you were in the newsroom? I think I was all of us were in the newsroom that day, but we didn't know the extent of it. If you want to lead into that clip, what you saw that moment, start with that.
I want to start by describing where exactly it happened, because every time a terrorist attack actually happens in Jammu and Kashmir, these are areas that we are well versed with, especially those of us who have been there in Jammu and Kashmir, Niranjan. There are some areas we would have perhaps even understood that these are the areas, because these are the areas where the infiltration takes place. But this time, something was different. What was different? The fact that it was the meadows that was actually taken. They had chosen this very spot. They had chosen the spot which was not very well barricaded. You did not have enough people, police presence at that point in time. You would have people from across the country. Across the country, because what you would see right now, in the image that we are going to play out right now, are young couples who had just come from their wedding, few days into it. And what we have essentially seen is thereafter terrorists opening fire. Back-to-back firing that actually took place. And what was the motive? We'll put this out in a while right now. This particular first video that I want to show all of us is that very moment when terrorists opened fire.
Yep.
Security forces are rushing to the spot to verify it further. 4 masked men appeared and opened fire on the group of tourists, where 5 are injured. Now, this news is coming in from Pahalgam, a terror attack in Pahalgam where 5 are reportedly injured. The 5 are said to be tourists. There is a terror attack in Pahalgam where tourists have been attacked, and the injured tourists have been taken to the Anantnag hospital. That's the big news that's coming in. We're trying to get Zenith across for you with more inputs, but a terror attack in Pahalgam and 5 tourists been injured in that terror attack. The security forces have rushed to the spot.
A terrorist attack has taken place. 5 people have been injured, tourists have been injured, and 4 masked terrorists appeared and opened fire on a group of tourists. These are the live visuals. You can see the forces and the police there conducting the operation. The area has been cordoned off.
यहाँ पर थी, क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खा रही थी, मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी। यहाँ पे उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी। नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो, अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में। मैडम ये जो भीड़ सब है प्रेसिडेंट, आप टेंशन मत लो, मेरे पति का बचा लो, हम बचा देंगे, कोई बात नहीं। बेहतर करेंगे। अरे नहीं हम लोग, अरे हम लोग फौज हैं, हम लोग बैठो हम लोग फौज हैं, बैठो चलो। अरे हम लोग फौजी हैं, कुछ नहीं करेंगे, आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, बैठो आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, हम इंडियन आर्मी हैं, बैठो। ये इंडियन आर्मी है, आप लोग कहाँ से आए हो, कहाँ से आए आप लोग हैं? आपके बच्चे कुछ नहीं करेंगे, थोड़ा बताइए। हुआ पति आए हैं, बैठो आपकी सेफ्टी के लिए आए हैं, हम इंडियन आर्मी हैं, बैठो। ये इंडियन आर्मी आप लोग कहाँ से आए हो, कहाँ से आए?
Started with just news of an attack that evening. In fact, the story came in. All of us were here in the newsroom. Arnab, even you were there. And Arnab also kept asking us. He kept coming to the newsroom. I still remember that day. He said, "There's been an attack. What's the status? What do we know?" And that number just kept increasing. Arnab, you were tracking that story. What do you think was happening in those hours between the attack and finally when we broke that story?
Well, I mean, I just want to make 3 points when I look back on 2025, Niranjan. And I want people to see these visuals and I'll talk over it. The first fact is, I go back to 2008. I remember getting the first call from a journalist saying there was a gang war going on in Taj and in Trident, and something told me there can't be a gang war in 2 places at the same time. But we had let our guard down in 2008. And the first point I want to make is, we let our guard down in Pahalgam, before Pahalgam. We were beginning to feel as a nation. We used to say, don't trust the Gopkar gang. You cannot trust, anyone but the Indian army. You cannot leave it to your J&K police. You've got to be on your guard. You cannot loosen things as far as the responsibilities and powers of the security force are concerned. But the problem has been that we've had this feeling that everything's okay. We're getting back to normal. We've had an election. Things are fine. We've told the world we had an election and things are over. It wasn't. So the first point is, I think we let our guard down. Pahalgam woke us up. What a terrible awakening, I say this year. Second thing is that Hindus were killed. You see, 2008 were indiscriminate firing by Kasav and group. Everyone was killed, attacked. And so there was a feeling that this was a sort of the victims were plural. Here, the victims were targeted for being non-Muslim. Largely Hindus, told to read the Kalma, shook the lobby up, the pseudos up. They began to realize. They wanted to, then they started creating narratives, but Kashmiris helped. Where was the help? Where was the real help? For all these people terrified today, we must remember there was no help. There was no real local help in a big way. The third point is that there was I wish we had that clip where someone told me on the phone, I asked her, I think it was it Himanshi Narwal or Shubham Dwivedi who told me that, I think it was
Manjunath.
No, Manjunath's wife.
Yes.
Manjunath's wife who told me that what did the terrorists, they said, Jao Modi ko batao. Jao Modi ko batao. So it was a clear message to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That, in my view, made the government react in the way that it did. Because the government has begun to realize that the government is also under public scrutiny. And now I feel we need to constantly keep hitting the Pakistanis instead of feeling, and the Red Fort attack reminded us again this year. There's 3 points. Our guard was down, Hindus were targeted, and a message was sent to the Prime Minister of India almost as a dare from the ISI establishment. What came to my mind.
I remember the moment, exact moment in the newsroom, Arnab, you were there, and Vice President J.D. Vance was in India, and his speech was playing in Jaipur. And everyone was on it. And then, typically as it happens, we are in the newsroom, off and on, every other day, some encounter or the other is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. And when this trickle of information came in that another incident has happened, we were still trying to gather exactly what's the scale, and then suddenly we realized, oh my God, this is bigger, and somebody says in call, maybe it's actually more, it's maybe 20, it's 30, somebody said it's 40. And then it was a very tense situation in the newsroom, that this is next level. This is a planned attack. And then I remember I was thinking, just 4 or 5 days back, we had Asim Munir talking about how
Giving that speech.
He made a speech addressing the Pakistani, non-resident Pakistanis, where he effectively threw the dare and in a way gave that, a green signal perhaps to let this attack be carried out. I think now things fall in place. India's evolving war doctrine, which is, of course, our next story. But I think I go back to the moment.
I would also say that the high point of Indo-US relations on the 20th or 21st, when J.D. Vance was there with the Prime Minister, we brought his children in, and there was this photo opportunity with J.D. Vance's children all around, almost like a family moment, get-together, closeness of relationship. At the lowest point, just 18 days later, when Trump said that I called and I made them have a ceasefire, so that in 18 days, Indo-US relations also hit
nosedive.
Absolutely.
Maybe that was the plan.
Yeah.
How did you look at this moment in the Republic Bharat newsroom, and when you were there, Aishwarya? What did this story mean, and what was the intensity of the coverage?
Everyone, it doesn't matter how many times over and over you watch this video, everyone was disturbed. And as Arnab just said, it was a targeted attack on Hindus. First asking their names, and then they were forced to bring their trousers down. It was an attempt to identify every Hindu there. And as Arnab said, in 2008, it was a plural attack on everyone. This time, it was a deliberate attack. So we were trying to analyze that, what has happened. And once we found out, everyone, somewhere or the other, every individual in our nation was hurt. And truly so, as every Indian. But then, as we said, we were shook that day. And the government also understood. Because in the matter of hours, things changed. Not only in India, but also between India and Pakistan, India and US, and the whole international relationship, as we will discuss in the next hour.
No doubt, Pahalgam was the biggest story, those visuals. Can I just play the visuals again? Those pictures which you saw, that clip was of Himanshi Narwal. She is 26 years old, and then she's saying in that video, because, I remember 26/11, when the first image of Kassav came. Right? At that point of time, I remember being in the studio and looking at that image, and we were told the image was taken, if I'm not mistaken, from a photographer from a window from the Times of India building overlooking CST. So he captured that moment, and I remember at that point of time, we couldn't believe it had happened. When this happened, we couldn't believe that it happened, because we were in slumber. We were watching J.D. Vance give a speech in Jaipur, and suddenly that happened. And then Himanshi Narwal, wife of Vinay Narwal, I think he's from the Indian Navy lieutenant, right? She says that she's sitting next to the body of her husband in that Baisaran meadow, and saying that he was killed because he is not Muslim. He is not Muslim. I repeat, he is not Muslim. He was killed because he is not Muslim. And that moment really woke everybody up. I think it woke up the government also. So I think that was, without doubt, one of the biggest moments of the year. It is a defining moment of 2025. Terrible way to start the show, but that is what it is.
It is. And should we go to the next one? Aishwarya, this is on Operation Sindhur because the impact of what happened in Pahalgam, the response was in Operation Sindhur. If Aishwarya can take us through.
Absolutely. As we were just discussing, it shook the whole system. It shook the country. It shook 140 crore Indians. And it shook the government, as it should have been. And what we did was Operation Sindhur. And in Operation Sindhur, the whole, if you could just say, it redefined the modern warfare. It was for the first time a non-contact war between two nuclear states, you see, in which it was the, if I could say so, the largest tri-services mobilization which was done. The whole Western theatre, Abhishek, was mobilized. The whole Western theatre was mobilized. And it also changed our doctrine.
Yeah.
Now, any act of terror is an act of war.
Yeah, but besides that, I think that what had happened immediately after Pahalgam, there was this 18-day period where almost every day we would talk about.
You would ask what is happening.
Aishwarya, that when would we hit, when would we hit, when would we hit. But in our mind, we had a certainty.
Because 140 crore Indians were asking.
We knew Pulwama and Balakot. We knew that the government hits. We almost felt, if you read the mind of the government, you knew that there would be a 2-week window in which we would hit. But admittedly, Aishwarya, nobody actually imagined the nature of the attack.
9 terror camps.
We were used to surgical strikes.
9 terror camps inside the Pakistanis. As far as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Abhishek, the strongest one which we did was this. And you say from Bahawalpur to Muridke to Marala, we hit every major terror point.
You know,
even
you know, I remember, Arnab, on the night of Operation Sindhur, at around 11:30, we spoke. And we were discussing when is it going to happen.
True.
And I exactly remember the conversation. It was maybe tonight.
Yeah.
It's happening tonight.
Yeah.
That was our conversation at 11 p.m. And 1:21 is the time, between 1 and 1:30 is the time when Operation Sindhur really panned out.
Yeah.
I think my takeaway from Operation Sindhur is that we had a lot of deficiencies. You mentioned about the lowering of guard. During the planning of Operation Sindhur itself, I think our security establishment realized that this 14-day window is not good.
Yeah.
So next time when Operation Sindhur 2.0 is needed, you need that window to be just 48 hours.
Yeah.
max.
And I think that's going to be a very important takeaway. And the entire security establishment, I think, is turning around.
Clip of how we broke that story of when Operation Sindhur happened. Here's how we in the newsroom broke that moment. This is that moment.
All came back rushing.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very big breaking news day. Good morning to everyone across the country. We've hit back. Ladies and gentlemen, the big breaking news story of the moment. All right, because I want to recap exactly what is happening as of tonight, as of this minute, 33 minutes past 2 a.m. on the 7th of May. History has been made. This is a very direct and straightforward attack by the Indian Army we are reporting tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan has been hit. Muzaffarabad has been hit. A total of 9 places in Pakistan have been hit. And the government has said very clearly that we are focused, we are measured. What we are doing is non-escalatory in nature. They've said that no military targets of Pakistan have been targeted. They've also said that we have demonstrated considerable restraint, and we have demonstrated considerable restraint in the selection of the targets and the method of execution. These steps come in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam attack in which 25 Indians and 1 Nepali citizens were targeted and murdered. We are living up to the commitment that those responsible for this attack will be held accountable. And there was going to be a very detailed briefing on Operation Sindhur later today. This is the PR that I got from the Ministry of Defense. I have fantastic panel waking up with me this morning. I remember that moment. Can I make a point before I hand it over to you folks? The fact is that even when that grainy footage came from Pakistani social media, and we remember that first grainy footage there, can we show it while I speak? And that footage, if I'm not mistaken, was about these clips of fireballs There were fireballs all over, lightening up the skies near Bahawalpur, and which is Jammu, Jaish-e-Mohammed Madrasa sort of, right? And there were satellite grabs which came for the first time of smoking craters in Muzaffarabad. ANI started feeding some pictures much later. The ANI visuals came much later. First were the social media visuals. Now, in today's day and age of false information, disinformation, counter information, we did not know whether we can take that at face value. And I remember being in the studio here, coming down from the newsroom, walking into the studio and asking, have you got an official confirmation? Have you got Abhishek, Aishwarya? Have you heard? Shawan, remember, I kept saying, why is the government not confirming this?
We did get the confirmation in the morning.
Yeah, but we got it. No, we got a confirmation later. You told me, and I got a confirmation on my WhatsApp, but in today's day and age, you can't even trust unless you get it from a verified source. Yeah. So there was this 20-minute gap, viewers, when you had the footage, the Pakistanis were saying we've been bombed.
Yeah.
But the Indian government hadn't confirmed it yet because it was going through our information machinery. And imagine that situation out there. But I think there was just too much information about these craters. I remember
there was a bit of a communication fiasco for sure.
No, not communication fiasco. The Foreign Secretary's press conference happened at 8 o'clock in the morning. In the morning. I mean, you had the hits at around 1:05 to 1:30. You had channels like Republic going full on live by 2 o'clock. You had a WhatsApp confirmation that we have hit around 3:30. Yeah. 3:30. The official press conference happened only at 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock in the morning. So I think there was this gap. I just wanted to make this point. For me, being in the newsroom when there is an information flow gap requires us to, really tread on thin ice.
Absolutely.
On a lighter note, Arnab, that night we were here till late. I remember we left office at around 11:30 and we were at home. I still remember I had just shut my eye and I got a rude jolt from my wife who told me that we have struck Pakistan, we need to run back to office. And by the time I'd entered the car, a little after 1 o'clock.
So the first call actually I got was a former Pakistani guy saying that something has happened.
Yeah.
The worst part was this, that I had to actually call up someone in the army saying that the information is coming from Pakistan. Interestingly, this time also,
across the border.
There is a point here that they essentially wanted to make. The point was that jo bhi hoga, khulkar hoga. Let people watch it.
Said that.
And they made it very clear. Yeah. So at 1:20, a little after 1:20 is when I got the first set of confirmation coming in. And in fact, we had got a list of places, about 7. A detailing of came in. Later on, it was 9. 9 terrorist camps.
Rare
idea
moment.
was very clear. Yeah. The idea was absolutely clear that is bar sab kuch khulkar hoga. They will provide the evidence, not us.
Rare moment. Aishwarya was the only one in the newsroom that day. He was the only one in the newsroom that day. He broke the story. He broke the story.
But what I'm saying is, when it happened like never before.
Yeah.
It changed our doctrine. It changed the modern war, how modern warfare is done. We saw not only Pakistan, we saw Pakistan getting help from Turkey, from China, whatnot, and we still took them on and heads on, Abhishek. And as you were just saying, we hit them as far as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
We had actually placed our reporters all across Kashmir by then. I remember that.
By then we had around 8
we have the clip? I don't know.
12 hours we had.
There is this clip which I have of Rakshita. Rakshita was in Srinagar. She was watching it from her window and she WhatsApped me. I remember, I think I still have that WhatsApp. She said, I have got a sequence. I think it is of either drones flying or I think she was seeing UAVs, but she was also hearing sounds. She was not clear what it was, but she knew something was happening. This was around the time that Omar Abdullah had also started parallel live streaming.
Yeah, something is happening, something.
Yeah. So, can we play Rakshita's clip, please? Let's do that.
I think we can see an explosion. We hear an explosion. Jets hovering. We're right now in Srinagar, and we can actually smell some smoke. And the sky at one part became red. There was an explosion, sound, very much visible.
Seems there is panic across the border.
And in that entire period, I remember as a team how each one of us here, and of course all of our colleagues, worked around the clock. We spent days and nights here in the office. Rhythm, you were also here during the coverage. I think we were non-stop 24/7 for those 5 or 6 days.
Even in the evenings and nights, I remember, in fact, being on air 2 a.m., Niranjan and I and Shravan, we were wondering who's going to take a break, and then one of us used to get on. Abhishek, of course, was there. And I remember the statement that Arnab was talking about. The Indian Army, 8 a.m. in the morning, had stated, today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity. I then remember Rakshita, who'd actually come out there. In fact, even the visual that we were playing out, she had told us all the places that we targeted. Bhavalpur, Muridke. She'd already got it from the sources that were there in Jammu and Kashmir, clearly indicating that this was a strike on the very heart of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar.
And by the time, Harsha was also, I think we have another clip because I want to relive the moments of that. There was immediately by early that day, the first day, there was a report from Harsha on a drone attack. And this is, viewers, please remember, this is unanticipated nature of footage, you know. Drones, by the way, have been around since the mid-90s for the United States. But in India, we've never seen drone warfare.
It was drone warfare.
Drone warfare. So this clip was very interesting. Please have a look at this.
I'll show you the visuals also because continuous noises and firing could also be heard here. I'd like to show you the visuals because at first at 1:28 p.m. when we heard the heavy noises, we got to know that the first strike was initiated from the side of Mandir and Balakot. These are the visuals. We are continuously hearing heavy shelling and this firing and this firing and this firing continuously. We have seen this firing from two sides. Near Mandir, there's one side of the area, Surankot, and the other side of the area is Degbar. And right now I'm in the middle of the Mandir
And this is the first time, Abhishek, when drones, because earlier to that, every time one or the odd drone, one in few months, one in 6 months, used to drop off from Pakistan, or BSF or someone shooting it down. But to see drone in active war, this was for the first time.
In fact, on the 8th, 9th, and the 10th, what we saw was a counter, a response coming in from the Pakistanis, something that India had already done. India had expected. This was coming. And in fact, as far as areas that were being targeted, Pakistanis wanted to basically this time carry out the attack in Jammu. Large part of areas that were targeted were military bases. And that is exactly why, before the 10th, the call that went into our DGMO, the thing was that try and find out a way to target the military bases. Forget about military bases, even religious institutions. And in fact, Rhythm would remember this, that religious institutions that were being targeted in Jammu, that very moment, Gurdwaras were being targeted. That is the level to which
Abhishek and I,
petulance on the part of Pakistan.
But Abhishek and I can let you in at that point of time. We spoke to some very high-level sources. Of course, can't name them, but they were of the point of view that we had achieved our objectives on the 7th of May.
Yes, 7th of May.
7th of May morning when we made those phone calls, they said we have achieved our objectives. It was the media, or rather certain sections of the media which were determined to go to Karachi and beyond. But it was clear to us, to you and me, without letting on absolutely everything, what can you share? Because our information that was coming in from the government, that they were very happy with the level of intelligence that they had gathered, both human intelligence, signals intelligence, and the application of that intelligence on the 7th itself.
Yes.
They were maybe prepared for a second round, but I didn't get a sense that the government wanted to push it much beyond that even then, because we had achieved, we had hit back disproportionately.
Yes. Right. And the Pakistanis, of course, gave us an opportunity to hit back at them second time, also when we took down their bases and really completely debilitated their
Can I ask you something?
War machine, Niranjan.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Is there something about Operation Sindhur that has not been revealed? I feel because a lot of visuals did come in. For example, I remember in the newsroom, there was a visual from Lahore, which was never acknowledged. But there were a lot of aspects to Operation Sindhur which were not in the public domain.
Niranjan is asking you that typical podcast question to get the clickbaitish first screen. Operation Sindhur, what you never knew.
I can give you a.
I were afraid to ask.
I can give you a knick-knack. So when this operation was panning out, our entire military leadership, so to say, at an undisclosed location was in a communication secure chamber, as it is called, where, you know, a communication sealed war room where they are in control of everything. They can see everything. They could map every square inch of Pakistani territory, right? Right down to the square inch, Niranjan. And they were secure in terms of their communication, right? So, you know, Aishwarya was mentioning about the fact that Turkey helped Pakistan, China helped Pakistan, but then we were very clear what we were doing. We had real-time intelligence on the impact of our operation. And, you know, Pakistan gave us an opportunity to take down their air bases and completely debilitate their war machine. Remember, their navy had just pulled back inside the Karachi harbor, whatever little navy they have. The Air Force was flying 300 kilometers away. Yeah. And they had completely given up. Had India decided to inflict disproportionate cost or no, I believe maybe there is a conversation that maybe we should have, but we did not. I think, but I think it was, we came very close to almost decimating for a long, long time Pakistan's ability to militarily stand on its feet again.
Yeah, for example, I'll tell you one more thing. Shawan, this question is to you. You know, people like took clips of our coverage and tried to make memes saying, "Hey, inhone bol diya ki Karachi ko maar diya." No, the truth is we hit Karachi.
We did, of course.
We did hit Karachi.
One air base there, okay.
We did Karachi. Yeah, but yeah, Shawan.
Can I just add a little bit about what we did not know so much? Because about Operation Sindhur, it was all about tech. It was all about using the finest state-of-the-art technology. But what we forget and what we do not highlight is the kind of human intelligence that we picked up this time. One of the finest military operations was possible only because Bahawalpur, the kind of destruction has actually happened. I can only reveal this much, that the DGMO's office, till the last moment, actually had the human intelligence of those who were present. Yeah. So the question that was being asked the very next day, whom did we target? Who were the people who were basically eliminated? And the fact of the matter is that Lashkar-e-Toiba had taken a huge hit, so much so that even today, Saifullah Kasuri is still saying, lamenting about the fact that for years...
He's done that yesterday.
Yeah,
See,
he's done that.
Since that question was asked, what is it about Operation Sindhur that one does not know? I think that we must clearly tell viewers that between 9th and 10th, it was only optical warfare by the
Pakistanis, yeah.
Optical as in they were not really hitting militarily.
Yeah.
We saw drones coming in and our air defense artillery hit it back. So we saw these Turkish, what is called Asisgar drones, then we saw these Yiha drones, we saw these loitering munitions. But the reality is that all of these drones were tiny compared to the real thing, you know.
Yeah.
We had hit really hard with our BrahMos. 9th, and these are drones which carry between 4 to 5 kilograms. Yeah. They are incapable beyond the point of targeting an airbase or an ammunition depot. They can create a small hole in the ground, and that also it fell far away. Or they can sort of create some panic in civilian sites. So I think Operation Sindhur had achieved its objective by 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
And after that, Pakistan needed a face saver, so they did these nighttime drone swarms. And it made for good footage, you know. Nighttime drone swarms, Indian air defense artillery hitting it back. But effectively, I think the war was over by then.
And the defining picture of Pakistan claiming they had hit Adhampur base and the Prime Minister there, you know, with S-400 in the backdrop.
Should we move to the next story? Okay. Rhythm will take us to the Red Fort attack and what it, you know, the year that we just passed 2025. Big year, last 2 months especially, Rhythm.
Yes, absolutely. The Red Fort attack, very crucial also because this, after the 26/11 attack, which we had covered in 2008 and Arnab had been at the very front of covering what it meant. This was an attack, a rare terror attack at the very heart of the capital where the term white-collar jihad had now come out. This was not only attacks by people who were just coming like the Kasabs. This was attacks by the doctors and the engineers. For the very first time, the definitions in the Delhi riots case changed and engineers and doctors became a very crucial part of what was now being defined as the suicide attack bombers by the Jaish-e-Mohammeds. In fact, the bomber in this case, identified as Umar Nabi from Kashmir, was also a doctor. Faridabad became very crucial. And 10th November 2025, Aishwarya, the deadly car bomb blast that ripped through that area near Red Fort. Investigators saw it as a suicide attack initially. Later, Jaish's role came out. Shravan, I remember speaking with you about it. We had a sort of, talk about it, all of us. We spoke about the security movement at that time. What was found in Faridabad? You had a very interesting anecdote when you told us about what actually led from Jammu and Kashmir to trace this and stop something that could have been far deadlier.
The Shopian.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that was planned in the last 1 month or 2 months. The very fact, the information that we had got was the large amount of arms and ammunition that were being procured, and they were stored not very far away from our studios here, barely about a few kilometers from here, 2 storehouses, which these jihadi doctors were actually keeping, and Al-Falah University became the fulcrum of this entire investigation. The reality is this, and perhaps the threat that we face today is of radicalization. This comes out from the Red Fort case.
To a level which we've never seen before.
Yeah. Should we play the clip?
Yeah, sure.
Please. Yes, let's please look at that. Here's what happened. Red Fort attack the moment we broke the story.
Capital, where we're given to understand that there has been some chaos. In fact, some reports coming in of some explosives. These are some reports coming in from the Red Fort area, where we're given to understand that some sounds of explosion had actually come in. Not very sure at this point in time as to what really has happened. We're trying to get more details. In fact, on your screens right now, this has happened close to the Red Fort is what we are being told. I'm trying to get in more details right now from our reporters on the ground. The first report basically came in from Red Fort. There was an explosion-like sound that was basically heard, and that's exactly what has happened right now with these reports now coming in. Call of an explosion. In fact, this was the first call that basically came in. Call of explosion in a car that was near Red Fort area is what we are being told. Red Fort Metro Station, gate number 1, after which 3 vehicles also caught fire. Fire department says that they've received a call of explosion in a car. In fact, not very sure whether at all this is with regards to a normal, perhaps a vehicle basically catching fire, but there has been a fire brigade has basically received a call in which during the call there was reports coming in that they've heard an explosion-like sound that came in from a car that was parked near the Red Fort Metro Station. This has happened near gate number 1, which is basically closer to North Delhi, where we are being told that 3 vehicles also caught fire. Fire department says that they have received a call of explosion in a car.
If you're watching this tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the blasts, let me tell you, were extremely severe. It was extremely severe. We have NIA on the spot, the National Investigating Agency. SB is on the spot. You have latest reports coming in. 24 people have been injured. There are 9 casualties. If this is a terrorist incident, because we can't say so till we get an official confirmation, then I can say this is a major incident without doubt. And this is happening in the backdrop of certain events, ladies and gentlemen, where there has been huge amounts of ammunition which has been found with sleeper cells of terrorist groups. And these findings have been there from Delhi to Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. As of tonight, India's national security grid is on an overdrive, an absolute overdrive. And if I may, yes, Niranjan, and if I know we've got a fantastic studio, but if you can run the visuals also while we are speaking over this, I just want to tell you that there are 2 10s. There is 10th of November when this attack happens, and there is the 10th of May when, unfortunately, Trump declares the ceasefire for us. In 7 months, we had become complacent again. We keep talking about terrorism. We were totally complacent. We forgot Pahalgam. We thought life is hunky-dory, everything is fine. The first response of the Delhi police was denial. I want to embarrass the Delhi police and remind them again. Their first response was that it was a denial. There was a story put out, I don't know who, that this is a gas blast, cylinder blast. Of that sort. Cylinder blast. And I remember, if the footage can be played, please, I remember going and seeing the footage. I remember because there was this moment when even Shravan, you were getting information, Niranjan was getting information. It's a cylinder blast. And I said, this doesn't seem like that. What the hell is going on? Right? And I remember going to a corner of our newsroom, sitting in with the NLE editors, and I told the producers, can you just show me the footage, show me the footage, show me the footage. And you know, I've this years of experience of the footage saw things strewn over a half a kilometer area, to be honest, or maybe 200 meters at least. This is obviously not a cylinder blast.
Obviously.
And I thought there was media management, narrative management going on for the first. Like you don't have instructions from the top whether to accept that it's a terror strike or not. So I realized this is complete rubbish. We didn't know about the Hyundai car, we didn't know, but there are obvious things that appear to you. First is, when has this happened? It's happened around 7 o'clock. This is peak hour. Where has it happened? It's happened near Red Fort,
main interjection,
Gate 1 metro station.
Main red light.
Right? Where the maximum
Entry
right
to
opposite,
Chandni Chowk.
right opposite entry to Chandni Chowk,
Right
about
opposite the main
100 meters away from where the Prime Minister
Fort,
addresses the nation. Straight line, right? And so many people affected, such a wide area. And then we get all the clips which start coming.
That's when you decided to send us, leave our shows from the studio.
I asked
was in the middle of
I asked all of you to go.
Yes.
I asked
We
all
rushed.
of you to go, but that's another 45 minutes. By the time you reached, these were the visuals which were on air. I said to myself, no, this is very big. Very, very big. I just wanted to come in with that one small input that everybody was in denial for the first 1 hour that this was an act of terrorism. Maybe the people of India felt that we have taught Pakistan a lesson, they are going to lie low. But we didn't realize is Pakistan emboldened by Trump. Munir is not going to lie low. It also is a lesson of what we will face as we enter 2026. The threat is always there and it's real.
Yeah, going back to reach there, Abhishek, on spot I'll tell you. The chassis of the body, the chassis of that Hyundai car, it was shown all over more than 50 meters. The chassis of the body. The front part, the bonnet, the underbody of the car was shattered into 6 pieces. That was the intensity. There was still, I don't want to be graphic, but there were still parts, human parts lying around 50 meters away, and media was all over it. And I heard people coming in from as far as from Ballimaran, which is around more than 125 meters away, Abhishek, from there. More than 125 meters away, that their windows have cracked. That was the intensity of the blast.
Maybe more actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
go ahead.
Please go.
Can I make a confession here? Because I'm guilty here. And I must say, because I got a call. In fact, this was from a very, very senior.
Was it a police officer, Shravan?
So tonight, yeah.
Shravan, was it a police officer?
I'm willing to admit it because I think so. You know, the brickbats that I received.
That was part of the plan for them.
And
maybe.
I think so. The officer.
Mentioned, you know,
I'm going to take this clip. I'm going to take.
This was initial
clip and
media
tell the
management
officer,
for them.
Dare you do this once again because it was embarrassing
He's
for
not
me.
saying that I went to him. I might as well share. I went to Niranjan and a very enthusiastic Shravan, enthusiastically breaking the news of sources telling them it could have been a cylinder blast. And I remember blasting both of them. And I said that what the hell is this? Go and see the footage. To be fair to them, they both went, saw the footage, and I think all our experience tells us not. But you know, the bottom line is, Shravan, we had let down our guard.
Yes.
And I happened to go to the same place, Chandni Chowk, stand in the same place, right outside gate number 1 metro station, just about 8-9 days back. And I just looked around left and right, and I realized only one thing: the vulnerability is there. You can't do
even now.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. In fact, Shravan, now that's where you go back to the reporting part of that moment. You know, there was this news break that came in just a few days before the terror attack at the Red Fort from Srinagar, where they bust a ring which was putting out posters, right, in Srinagar about threatening those who stand with India and Indian forces. Yeah. And the person who was caught in that CCTV footage is the person who was the suicide bomber in the Red Fort terror attack. The police was close on the heels of these people. So in a way, the tragedy could have been bigger.
Yeah.
Can you see the footages of those doctors?
This was about 3 tons of info that they had 3 tons of explosives that they had. They could use barely about 20 odd kilos, right? So the tragedy could have been much bigger.
Absolutely. And even today, Arnab, while we're doing this show, even today, 150 kgs of ammonium nitrate from Rajasthan. Has been recovered.
So it's not that it's over. The terror is a lived reality for us. For us, it's a living
and presence. Another, this Al-Falah connection and the doctor indoctrination and rhythm that you were saying, white collar terrorism, it's just a name. It is the indoctrination which has happened over years and years and years, because till now, Arnab, a narrative was created that terrorist वो बनता है जिसके पास कुछ नहीं होता, उसको problem है, वो गरीब है. They were earning in lakhs. They had houses in more than 3 cities across the country.
But they still managed to.
So that narrative has been broken. No, but indoctrination. It is happening. It is happening. It's live and it's sticking even as we speak.
Yeah, but
so that's
they've managed to pull out a headline from this also. For example, all the politicians in Kashmir after this tried to make it about how suddenly Kashmiris are being viewed in a certain way. Now, for us in the newsroom, we are in Delhi NCR and Al-Falah is in Delhi NCR. So that is how scary it is. It is right next to us, right? So I think it is a story that we will watch out for in the next year as well. 2026, white collar jihad, something that we have to be careful about in the year ahead.
The country has to be, the government has to be.
Should we go to the next story?
And it's also coming when we're going to have the Delhi riots judgment from the Supreme Court, which also spoke and hinted on the Red Forts case and spoke about how white-collar jihad is now a reality.
Radicalization.
Yes, Raju had said it.
Yes. Okay.
I think we also have callers.
Okay, we'll take one more story and then we'll start taking your... By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking your calls live. You can speak to all of us. We're here in the studios. And the next moment from the year 2025, ladies and gentlemen, when Pakistan... And we're all talking about Pakistan. And you look at Red Fort attack, look at Pahalgam, look at Operation Sindhur. Did we have to play cricket with Pakistan? One of the questions that we will end the year with. Pakistan walked away with the Asia Cup trophy. By the way, we said don't play Pakistan, but they still went ahead and played Pakistan. This is the year the BCCI defied public sentiment. Here's what happened. The moment when the trophy chores embarrassed themselves.
India's hard-fought Asia Cup victory, the Indian team refused to accept the trophy from ACC chief Mohsin Naqvi, who also serves as Pakistan's interior minister. In fact, Pakistan goes on to argue on the fact that this is not sportsmanship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the militant mindset of the Pakistani cricketers which have been completely exposed. As far as India is concerned, what is important to highlight is the fact that we have stood our ground. Well, there would be many who would argue whether at all India should have played the match or not. But having said that, a strong message has been sent out by India by not accepting the trophy from the Interior Minister. In fact, ACC Chief Mohsin Naqvi, who also serves as their Interior Minister, went on making bizarre statements. In a haze of embarrassment, their own officials ran away with trophies and medals. Now that Pakistan has stolen the trophy, they might as well flaunt it on their own news channels, claiming victory in the Asia Cup, just like the way they did during Operation Sindhur.
Yeah. I want to make a point. A few days back, this was the Asia Cup, ladies and gentlemen, but a few days back, Arnab, there was an Asia Cup under-19, where we played Pakistan in the finals. We got hammered by the Pakistanis in the finals. And you know what the Pakistanis is? Same Naqvi was in Dubai a few days back, handing the trophy, and the same Pakistani cricketers went back to their country, and Asim Munir was there to welcome them. I mean, sort of irritated us when we looked at those visuals, but I think my question to you is, what is your stand on playing Pakistan? Was that required?
No, we should not play Pakistan. We should not have played Pakistan. We should not make our country go through this all over again, where we appear to be indecisive. Now, so what if we are hosting the Commonwealth Games? So what if in reciprocity Pakistan does not come for the Commonwealth Games? We don't need Pakistan. Pakistan needs us. I'm so unhappy that the BCCI, which represents the collective will of all political parties in this country, went ahead and played Pakistan. Now you played Pakistan. After that, you realize the people are angry. Your viewership has fallen. Nobody is watching this rubbish anyway. Now they're going to renegotiate, I'm told, cricket rates on television because nobody is watching as much cricket anymore. People are disillusioned with so much cricket. But having played, then you say, oh, we will not shake hands with the Pakistani captain. That's absolute rubbish. You're playing Pakistan. And then you are going to say that Surya Kumar Yadav is not going to shake hands with Salman Ali Agha. That's drama. I request the Indian Cricket Board to keep the cricketers out of drama, not to force the cricketers to play Pakistan anymore. I think we called for the trophy chore moment.
Yeah.
We created a situation where they became trophy chore. Yeah, but by the way, this is our quote, trophy chore. We call them trophy chore. But why did we allow them to do that? I would still think that in 2026, the government of India must put pressure on the BCCI to stop playing Pakistan. Because people are fed up with this. This is duplicity. Yeah. You cannot have a strong position on Pakistan. And then, look at the timing. All this nonsense is going on in September. In May, you have Operation Sindhur. In September, you are letting them walk away with a trophy that they don't deserve. And you're forcing the people of India to watch India play cricket with Pakistan.
And the guy has the cheekiness to say that please organize a formal event, then I'll hand over the trophy to you.
The thing is that we are allowing Pakistan to claim parity with us. They can't claim parity. Yeah. We are a big nation, they're a small country. We need to put them in their place. We made a big mistake, the big mistake, after Operation Sindhur, in my view. Okay. I don't think we should do it, especially with that fellow Naqvi, from Pakistan.
Interior Minister, Interior Minister of Pakistan.
Interior Minister, really bad, sad moment. Let's move on. I don't even want to see the footage. Let's move on, guys. This is terrible.
The next.
Bad moment of the year.
Abhishek, you want to lead into the Shubhanshu Shukla movement? You can.
Well, absolutely, Niranjan. As that Axiom 4 rocket soared in the sky, taking Shubhanshu Shukla with him, remember, friends, it was aspirations also of 1.5 billion people soaring high. In that trajectory of the rocket were the technological ambitions of us as a nation. The experiments that Shubhanshu Shukla and his team did at the International Space Station in the 20 days that he spent along with the team there, it was essentially India muscle building for its Gaganyaan mission.
And we've got our pilot, Shubhanshu Shukla, as our second crew member exiting the spacecraft. And some big smiles, as you said. India reached a major milestone for the nation's space exploration goals. AX-4 pilot Shubhanshu Shukla became the first astronaut to fly from the country's newly established astronaut corps. His participation marks a vital step forward for ISRO's Gaganyaan program, which aims to send Indian astronauts into space aboard domestically developed spacecraft. Shukla's flight demonstrates India's readiness to execute international missions and reflects the country's broader ambitions to become a key player in the global space community.
Yeah. All right. So, Niranjan, we were there in the studios.
Yes.
Both when he went up and when he came down. These are the pictures of when I think he came back. And then he, from there, spoke to the Prime Minister. So he improvised on Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindosta Hamara. He said it's better. And all the experiments that were done, including growing sprouts and many on health, how our health parameters vary over when we are in this space in zero gravity. And then he came back, and then he's a celebrity now. But remember, as I mentioned...
Sprouts?
Sorry?
Sprouts, you said, right?
Yeah, they made sprouts there in the sky, in the space station.
Each of them had
that was one of the experiments.
Abhishek loves them, you know that.
That was one of the experiments.
Oxnuts and sprouts.
Yes. So maybe it was a way to, for me also to sometime fancy going there, huh? Aishwarya? Okay. So I think what is important is that in Shubhanshu Shukla's achievement, we have a nation aspiring for technological advancement of a kind which only 4 or 5.
But I have some good news. I have some good news going ahead to 2026. Shubhanshu Shukla will be on our campus, on our Republic campus. We're looking forward to that. So that's one good thing that we really look forward to in the next few weeks. I think we have a guest joining us on the broadcast. Shaman, you want to go to Air Commodore Ravish Malhotra? He's an Air Force pilot. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
A big moment for us, and what we are looking forward to is, of course, the Gaganyaan. That's the other big mission that we've been working towards. And the message that we are sending across, it's India's space moment.
Yeah, actually, this particular flight to the Shukla's flight of 18 days on the International Space Station really was a defining moment in India's space journey. I mean, that's where we are headed eventually. That we are all looking forward to our own Gaganyaan getting airborne perhaps in the coming year or at the latest maybe just after that. And I think so all of us in India are looking forward to the moment when we will have our own rocket and our own equipment, everything made in India going up into space.
Correct. I think the important thing is that why I think hi sir, this is Arnab here. Great to talk to you again. I think the big thing is not just that, you know, in your time this was about like a solo flight, right? Space flight. This time it is part of a continuous, very fast-moving program where with the first human space flight program of the country. So this was not in isolation. Therefore, it is a bit different from your time, isn't it? I mean, we know this gentleman is going to go back again. And he's going to be bringing all his experience into Gaganyaan. So this is a lead up. Unlike the 80s.
I've always been telling people that eventually India is going to be setting up some kind of an organization like what NASA has, what NASA is there in the US. Because this is not the first or the last mission that we're going up in. We have another 3-4 astronauts who are waiting, and perhaps this mission may be led by Shukla himself, or maybe Nair, one of the two of them. And there are other astronauts that we will select and keep in readiness for missions in the future.
Wow, this could actually happen in 2026. So again, Happy New Year to you, sir, and to everyone watching this as I go to the break. And we have some special visuals going into the break out there. Remember, viewers, in 2026, you might have Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan Nair, who you referred to out there, Ajit Krishnan, Angad Pratap, Shubhangshu Shukla, all are astronaut designates. And we will become the fourth nation after the US, Russia, and China to launch humans into space. This is going to be a tremendous moment. I think if we'll have to do like about a month of coverage only on that. It's going to be totally beautiful. And as I go into the break, another set of visuals which are of the brilliant Sunita Williams finally coming back. She was stranded there for months, wasn't she? She was stranded for absolutely months there. And then she came back. You know, this is absolute spirit, ladies and gentlemen, people who are showing what tenacity and focus and effort truly is. This is going to be a great year. 2026, we are continuing our roundup of the moments of the year. We'll see you after this break.
MDH की देगी मिर्च का तड़का अंग अंग फड़का MDH की देगी मिर्च केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो पतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on. As we were telling you, usually for the limestone mining, the acceptable range of the blast is around 1 meter. And that won't be so harsh that we could feel this entire mountain, feel shake. There's definitely.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने, सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
We are willing to put an end to this conflict by peaceful means based on the principles that I outlined in July last year when I spoke at the Foreign Ministry of Russia.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा, राजा और मसाला।
We just now felt this entire mountain shiver because there are blasts going on. As we were telling you, usually for the limestone mining, the acceptable...
Gentlemen, this was also the year when Donald Trump dominated our news cycle. Let's take you through how Donald Trump, the US president, just kept coming back into the headlines in our newsroom all of 2025. From claiming he brokered the ceasefire to strong-arming every nation out there with tariff threats. Here's Donald Trump in 2025.
Coming in from a third party. It is a clear case of overstepping. It is not the job of the President of the United States to make a claim when we haven't even agreed that this is a matter which requires his intervention. I mean, with the greatest of respect to the American President, he has no idea about the ground situation. He has no idea about what's happening here. Till a few days back, he said that this is not for him to look into. And now he's congratulating both countries trying to be a global peacemaker. And I think this is beyond him. I strongly object to the fact that the US president is saying that he has sorted out the conversation between two countries. I think President Trump does not understand the importance of difference between back-channel talks or informal diplomacy or clandestine diplomacy or overt diplomacy. Somebody should think this is typical Trump overreach? This is typical Trump overreach. This is typical Trump overreach at a time when he does not have a mandate to do so. And I think it becomes incumbent right now for the government to start the press conference which we were promised at 5:30. If this was a calibrated announcement, which I do not know anything about, then really we will hear, we will go, Republic will go by what our Prime Minister says. Republic will go by what the Foreign Secretary of India says and what the Indian forces says.
Yes, and Donald Trump. Arnab, For me, the most defining Trump moment was when he
No, I mean, I completely freaked out when I saw that happen. You know, this was unacceptable. I remember being there. We worked hard 4 or 5 days, and I couldn't believe it that we had lost the narrative out there with Donald Trump posting on social media, which was 5:30 in the evening exactly. So he had timed it out. He'd gamed it. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, yes. American time. First thing he gets up in the morning, or he tells his social media team the night before, which is 5:30 in the evening, and he says, after a long night of talks, which I mediated, I am pleased to announce that I got India and Pakistan to agree to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both the countries for using common sense and great intelligence. That was such a demeaning tweet.
But guess what? He did not get the Nobel. He did not get the Nobel. He's not getting the Nobel.
He may not have got the Nobel, but he made the claim. He made the claim. We fought the war. He made the claim. It was overstepping, as I said out there. And I said that time, I will go by what the Prime Minister of my country says, not what the President of the United States says.
The Nobel Committee sought.
You know, this was so wrong. This was so wrong out there. And after that till now, I think Trump has been sort of trying to, he said it so many times. You know, how many times has he said it?
About 30 times, maybe more.
About 30 times. That I brokered it. It was constant and consistent out there, which is, yeah, I mean, that's why I just had to say this again.
Yes.
I remember going on air with you, I think.
Yes, I was there. Yes, we were there together in the newsroom and when this broke. And in fact, you're right that it was timed in a manner because the Ministry of External Affairs, Foreign Secretary was to make a statement. It was announced that he's going to make a statement.
But prior to that,
everyone was waiting for that to happen.
Trump came in prior
and then Trump's tweet came in, or post came in. So I think he really played a spoilsport there. Not in terms of India-Pakistan war, but in terms of the larger India-United States relationship. He has put us back. He has put us back by at least 2 decades insofar as India-United States relationship is concerned.
No, I don't believe that because, you know, with Trump, it's only where he is benefiting. You need to understand, when the man is ready to see diamonds and whatnot from a hand of the Pakistani failed general, this man is only looking out for business.
No, I think
and as I believe Trump is good for US, but not for the world.
I think this year, Trump dominated the news cycle. I think I have another clip, if I have, on his statement on tariff wars against India. Do we have that? Does our news team have that clip? Okay, I was told that we have it, but I'd like to make a point out here that through the whole year, Trump has dominated the news because of the trade war. And I think this year was very important. Going forward to 2026, even right now, I'm not sure whether we'll be able to strike a trade deal in the first calendar quarter of 2026, or even in H1.
Piyush Goyal is trying.
No, we are trying, but off the record, you speak to everyone involved, and they'll tell you that we can't read it.
It's not that easy. Yeah.
We can't read what is on Trump's mind. So I'm not sure whether we'll actually get the deal through, or even get the 25% off the 50% off. I'm not sure whether that will happen in the first few months of 2026. I just want to say that, yeah.
Okay. Speaking about Trump, Abhishek, none of his ceasefires have stuck. Before we go across to one of the claimed ceasefire where, even Netanyahu...
The latest one is Thailand, Cambodia, they're back to...
None of them. So before we go to that, there's a clip that Arnab was referring to, the trade war, and then we'll play that clip and then go across to the Israel-Gaza war.
Yeah, very, very tough. Very, very tough. The Prime Minister just left. He's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades.
Abhishek.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, Arnab, you are absolutely right that Donald Trump has hogged the headlines through the year. To the detriment of the geopolitical order as it has existed since World War II. We are still counting, whether this has really benefited in any manner. He wants to take Greenland, he wants to rename places, he wants a trade deal on his own terms.
But as it was said, it was clear to everyone that by September, Prime Minister Modi had made up his mind, has also started fighting back. In his own way, and that is why when he went to the SCO summit, I think we sent Shawan there. Shawan should talk about it, lead into the SCO summit and what happened there. There was this whole summit plenary which was happening in Tianjin. I don't think there was much media which was allowed very close, but he was there. I think by the time he went there, and you can talk more about it, I think India had decided that it needs to weigh in strongly with Russia and China, reopened the doors, reopened trade with China after a long period of a frozen relationship. And I'd like you to talk about that because I think it's all linked.
Well, in fact, two specific images that I want to describe. One is the Prime Minister walking almost hand in hand towards President Xi during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This was in Tianjin. And that was perhaps the defining image, became the global headline. This was in the backdrop of the Alaska meet that has already taken place. And of course, which way are we really pivoting? Because what we saw during the SCO summit, the entire focus was how exactly will the Prime Minister really respond after meeting President Xi? This was happening post-Galwan. So there was also some sort of skepticism because a thaw in the relationship, but again, at the same time, treading cautiously there. Another interesting image was when we first received the information that President Putin and Prime Minister Modi would be coming separately. That was the first set of information that came in. A little later, we were told there was a different hotel. In fact, I had dialed Abhishek to just get a confirmation that were things really changing because there was absolutely no information. Generally, you have a protocol of both the leaders. When they basically come together, they would be sticking to the agenda. And that's the beginning of what is called the carpooling diplomacy.
I don't know if you have the visual out there, which was about...
both of them?
No, it was not about... It was about Modi walking with Putin and Xi Jinping. Of course, we are seeing the firm triple handshake and the going past.
This one.
And then there is a moment when Shahbaz Sharif is watching on, feeling completely left out.
That was just before this.
I don't know if you have that visual.
When they walk
we should have pulled out that visual because in my view, that was the moment of Tianjin, which is moments are actually told in 10 to 15 second clips sometimes. And this firm handshake is going on. Russian President, full frame, let me describe this. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's a triple handshake, shared laughter, banter. And please do not think that either of the three leaders does not know the impact that this visual will have. But what Shahbaz Sharif did not know, the impact of how he is looking. There he is. He's looking like a, he's looking like a sentry on duty. He's looking like a sentry on duty with his hands clasped in that embarrassing manner, almost obsequious as Putin and Modi move past. He's like the guard of honor. He's like a member of the guard of honor. He's like a member of the constabulary. They're standing past. And I think, if you ask me, viewers, that's the moment. That's the moment out there. I really love that moment because this got so many views. It went digital. Or viral on digital, and it told us that Pakistan can continue to dream on. It would never be on the high table.
Red guard or not,
In fact,
red face for sure.
Such was the scenario for all the Pakistanis there. In fact, there were only 2 Pakistani journalists who came in, literally begging.
The money.
Literally, I know for a matter of fact, with the Chinese networks, Pakistani Prime Minister, after what happened, was literally begging for an interview that happened. An interview with CGTN being one such network that they finally did an interview with, because the focus was purely on these 3 leaders. So the Pakistanis were nowhere to be seen. So I know for a matter of fact, the back-channeling talks that they were actually saying that post this, because there was, of course, the parade that took place thereafter, so the Pakistanis wanted to feel relevant, because they were not even getting a meeting at that point in time.
Superb out there,
All right.
Let's move on to the other big stories. Let's move fast. We're capturing, Abhishek. By the way, do you want to remind everyone, Niranjan, keep reminding everyone.
Yes.
We are with you, walking into a new year with you. And please remember, the Republic Media Network works for you and works out of the old year into the new year with you. And we promise to do that all through 2026. We are grateful to you for making us India's largest independent news network, and we will forever stay that way. Let's move on.
And when we say we are reliving 2025, the fact is we have lived through it. As Arnab mentioned in the opening, most of it bad. And some good. Now, one aspect, because we have been focusing on foreign policy, is the overhang of the Israel-Gaza war that we have had on world events. So it began on October 7, 2023, been going on for more than 2 years now, and things have really come full circle via 3 other wars in Syria, Lebanon, and Iran, where the world actually wants it to stop in some way. hostage release happened. Trump, of course, wants and gets credit for it, but let's look at some of the details.
Today, out of which one has already been released. Now, 7 in the first phase will be released is what we know. The other will be released in the second phase of the exchange of hostages. This is one of the hostages that has been released by Hamas, Israeli. Now, according to the local media reports, Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam brigades, issued a statement shortly after the 7 hostages were reportedly handed over to the Red Cross. The group said, and I quote, "It remains committed to the agreement as long as Israel adheres to its part of the deal." Meanwhile, they have also been quoted saying that the agreement was reached is the fruit of the people's steadfastness and resistance. The statement also said that the occupation could have returned most of its captivities alive many months ago, but it all continued to stall. The Israel Defense Forces, meanwhile, confirmed that the Red Cross has received all 7 hostages, and that's...
Well, in fact, the biggest talking point was how exactly will the Gaza war really pan out, and whether at all the United States of America will be successful in doing so. In fact, let's share this. Our senior executive editor did get a chance to have that meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and in fact, everyone wanted to really know how exactly is he going to traverse this, whether at all there is pressure coming in from the US, the internal pressure that he was actually facing, whether at all things are changing for him in Israel itself. Just give us a sense of what went through.
Quickly, Shawan. So this was in the month of August that we went and met him as part of this delegation. And when we were entering his office, there were protests happening outside against Netanyahu. Remember, Israel is a democracy, a very cacophonous democracy and multi-party democracy. So there were protests happening outside his office, right outside his office. People want this war to end. A big section of Israelis want this war to end. And I, in fact, asked this question to him when we met just before this, after this handshake, because this is when he entered, and then he had a half an hour, 45-minute chat with us. I asked him that these are protests happening outside. People really want the war to end. What's your view? I mean, how are you sustaining? He said, yes. I mean, even I want the war to end. Who wants war in perpetuity? But the fact is that we want the hostages back. This was the time when hostages were still not back. So there was an escalation, in fact, built up. Hostages are now back. The war is tapering off. Maybe we're very close to a peace deal. It might happen. But in the conversation, I came out impressed, I must say, that despite that tremendous pressure, he could handle it, and he was in fact thinking of building up to the war so that the hostages could be... I mean, that's the picture of Israel you get, that they don't have any kind of weakness in their lexicon, in their social, political life. They believe strength is the only way you can handle any geopolitical, geostrategic, any situation, particularly in the kind of neighborhood that they live in.
A lot of people weren't happy with that picture, in fact, Abhishek, of you meeting Netanyahu. I just wanted to make a mention of that because people started debating why did Indian journalists get a private audience with Netanyahu? Why were they burning?
It was surprising because some of these people have taken junkets on Chinese, government plans. Some of these people have had no qualms in taking junkets with American scholarships, but and they have been very selective in their reporting. I mentioned when I met Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, I asked him that there is a protest happening against you. We have been on the ground and we see a very strong sentiment that the war should end. What's your view on it? So when we got the opportunity, we asked the question. The only way you could ask the question was meeting him, and then we got the opportunity, so we did it.
Yeah. Okay, so 2025 has been a very, very difficult year, ladies and gentlemen, for Hindus in Bangladesh. In fact, we are ending the year with that story. We began the year with the attacks on the Hindu community across Bangladesh. The Indian government says there have been 2,900 attacks on not just Hindus, minorities in Bangladesh, but it's an acknowledgement of facts on the ground. It's been a difficult year, 2025, as radical elements were let loose by the Yunus regime. Here's how we covered the attacks on Hindus recently. Deepu Chandra Das.
This is no student protest. This is no Gen Z protest. This is an Islamist mob that has first lynched a helpless and unarmed Hindu man on a suspicious and unsubstantiated claim of blasphemy. And after having lynched him, has burnt him alive, ladies and gentlemen. This is beyond inhumane. The problem is that all the Muslim leaders in India are quiet. The Islamist mob lynched Deepu Chandra, a worker from Maiman Singh's Bhaluka Upzila to death. Then they dragged him to the streets. They bludgeoned him, lynched him. Then they tied his lifeless body to a tree and beat his lifeless body to their heart's sadistic content. This Islamist mob, and still not satisfied with that, they set Deepu Chandra Das's lifeless body that was battered till every bone, and they burnt it after hanging it from a tree, Taliban style. The flames erupted as the Islamist mob chanted slogans. This deranged and mad crowd then stood capturing that camera to send the terror into the heart of every Bengali Hindu in Bangladesh. That this is what will happen to Bengali Hindus in Bangladesh. Then they stood there until the rope that was tied to the lifeless body of Deepu Chandra Das, a Hindu, gave up to the erupting flames that engulfed his body, throwing his burning body down to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, Deepu died because he was a Hindu. And this is what is happening to Hindus in Bangladesh. Yes, Hindus are in danger.
Well, in fact, there has been a massive Hindu mobilization that has actually taken place across the country. We have seen protests taking place in various cities. But one thing different that has taken place in Kolkata is when you've had Hindus coming out, but Mamata's police says crackdown still continues. One such moment was when our colleague Mayuk was covering the mobilization that was taking place, demanding that rights of Hindus should be protected, that they become the voice. What we essentially witnessed was Hindus being targeted by the police itself. Now, this is the very moment when Mayuk was present there, when the protests continued and a Hindu protester was brutally beaten up.
এই মুহূর্তে একজন অসুস্থ হয়ে পড়েছে পুলিশের লাঠির ঘায়ে এই মুহূর্তে মুখ ফেটে গেছে এই মুহূর্তে আমাদের কাছে গেরুয়া
You've been to Kolkata several times. This is a problem. We were all disturbed looking at the way Hindus were attacked, targeted, treated by Mamata government.
Yeah, so, you know, the visual that we have shown is going to stay in the hearts of the Hindus in Bengal for a long time. It is going to be a lead up to the elections of 2026. April, May, you will have an election. And the BJP would want strong Hindu vote mobilization. The BJP has to get 70% of Hindus in Bengal to vote for it. Hindus in Bengal, by my estimate, are around 67%. And Muslims would be around 33%. And so, for the BJP to win the Bengal elections, they will make what is happening in Bangladesh an issue, rightly so. Hindus in Bengal are also watching this very closely. And if they're allowed to vote freely, you could have a very dramatic result. But fact of the matter is that at this point of time, Mamata would not want to say anything against illegal Bangladeshi immigrants because her entire vote base depends on it. So for her, it's a difficulty. When Deepu Chandra Das is killed, when his bleeding body is set on fire, when a protester, Hindu protester is beaten, when Moyuk lifts the Hindu protester up on his own shoulders. These are all embarrassing moments for Mamata Banerjee, who is only seeking the Muslim vote bank. I think beyond this, one point before you move on to your next story, I would say is that this whole area is becoming geopolitically very fragile and demographically unstable. You know, Western Assam and of course South Bengal. And there is concern over the chicken snack also in the last few days. So this year is going to be politically very important in Bengal, and geopolitically extremely significant for what happens in Bangladesh.
There is one clip. In fact, we had planned to showcase what happened in Murshidabad in Bengal, because something similar happened in Murshidabad, Bengal. We have the clip ready. So
you mean the
Murshidabad?
The
attack on Hindus.
Not attack on Hindus. Hindus targeted and forced to leave Murshidabad.
Yes.
A constituency which is well over 70% Muslim. So if people say today that if Bengal becomes a Muslim majority state, what will happen to the Hindus in Bengal is a very legit question.
Yes, we have that clip ready.
It's a very legit question. We must show the visuals of the Murshidabad violence. I hope we also have the visuals of the, people forced to leave Murshidabad and Malda.
Yes.
Yes. Later. Yeah, please.
These are the visuals from Murshidabad. From as the entire Republic Bangla team, in fact, covered this very, very hostile government in Bengal. They tried to stop our coverage. We have the clip. Let's play the clip now.
Viewers has accessed the CCTV from Dhulian area of Murshidabad, where a group of youngsters you can see can be seen pelting stones. The CCTV footage right there on your screen shows how the outsiders are launching attack in Dhulian, in Murshidabad. So who is provoking who? You can see the provocation, you can see the vandalism, the violence, the stone pelting. It's all caught on camera and footage live and exclusive. And this is first and exclusive of Republic TV viewers.
We're getting in breaking news right now. We have a confirmation that the central forces will be deployed in parts of Bengal. This is after there was a PIL filed by the BJP leadership. Shubhendu Adhikari also went to court asking for central paramilitary forces. CAPF will be deployed in parts of Bengal, in Murshidabad specifically, where there has been rampant violence reported.
Another big breaking news update coming in from Murshidabad's Shamsherganj, where a mob went on a rampage with weapons and stones. Now, Republic has accessed key footage of the attack on Hindu houses. On your screen, ladies and gentlemen, these are visuals of the mob that went rampant in their violent spree and street anarchy yesterday. These are visuals exclusive to Republic that Republic has accessed. This is a big Republic Bangla news break that has accessed these visuals of mobs violently and viciously targeting the houses of Hindus with stones and sticks, as you can see on your screen.
From Murshidabad, we go across to what happened towards the beginning of the year. Maha Kumbh, Aishwarya, a huge success for not just the Yogi government, but across India. We sent a message.
Well, absolutely. Maha Kumbh, the word itself, right? Maha. So it was, how do I say so? 66 crore people, right? 66 crore people. Largest congregation of human civilization.
Full frame.
Full frame.
Largest. We need to just see 66 crore people, 25,000 crore in revenue, 1.5 lakh tent, 4,000 hectare city created. But we have to understand, largest human spiritual gathering. And it all went well until we heard that something has happened.
No, but in January, everything that has been seen this year, viewers, people call it religious polarization, but it is also Hindu vote consolidation, Hindu consolidation, Hindu assertion. These are the words we've used very strongly this year. Hindu mobilization.
Because it has happened.
No, not because it has happened, but because it is also being spoken about. Please keep in mind, Aishwarya, that 10 years back, you would be considered to be a Hindu zealot. You would be called extremely communal if you were to talk about Hindu consolidation.
Absolutely, you're right.
Right? Now, Maha Kumbh was Hindu consolidation of the greatest level that this country has ever seen.
The world has ever seen.
And I think Yogi Adityanath did an absolutely brilliant job by organizing it. But nobody actually expected more than 40 crore. I think that numbers which were being put up in December what 40 crore, and people would say, 40 crore people, do you know, is it even possible for 40 crore people to come to one place? And then the numbers went up to 66. And by the way, this is all AI checked. These are not claims by the government. These are AI checked claims. I spoke to one of the bureaucrats who was working there. He told me about the technology that they had put in place. So I think that when we are talking about Waqf, when we are talking about Murshidabad and Malda, when we are talking about this Sartan Se Juda kind of response of Islamist radicals, I'm not saying it, but are there some politicians who are beginning to fear the consequences of Hindu consolidation, Hindu vote consolidation, who saw the Ram Mandir judgment, who saw the Ram Mandir being built, who saw the inauguration of the Ram temple, right? Who now were unable to come to terms with what was happening in January 2026, who were actually saying, my God, what's going on? It can't be so big. It was supposed to be 30, 40 crore people. How did twice the number come up? But I know personally, I can tell you, there were so many people who came from all over parts of the world. They just came there because they felt they should have done this before, and the government was giving them this moment now. So I think it was a great, great moment. But of course, there was a sad moment in that. We need to talk about that, which was on January 29th, 2025. And this was around very early in the morning, during Mauni Amavasya, which was the peak holy dip day, when due to confusion, a lot of young people came in towards the Triveni Sangam, and there were a lot of pilgrims who were sleeping, and there was most unfortunately a stampede, and I think a lot of people died in that. I can share with you, at that point of time, I did speak, I can share with you, to Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, who was looking at things, but there was no attempt to downplay what happened. And I asked the Chief Minister what happened. He said that, see, I'm doing my absolute best. And this was not predictable.
Obviously.
And I agree with him. It was not possible to predict that a sudden surge of young men which would be rushing and those who were sleeping would not move, that at that point of time barriers would buckle under pressure. So I think I spoke to Yogi ji at that point of time, and I think it was a sad moment. And I think we can play that clip. I think, remember, Niranjan, I think you were there. Can I play that 45-second video about what led to the stampede? Yes, please.
The warning ignored in Maha Kumbh. I have two videos on the show this evening. One of the police commissioner clearly warning the devotees there to just move on to ensure that there is no inconvenience. And then I have an exclusive video, a 1 minute 26-second video that tells you the full story of why the stampede took place at the Maha Kumbh. Take a look.
सभी श्रद्धालु सुन लें, यहाँ लेटे रहने से कोई फायदा नहीं है। जो सोवत है सो खोवत है। उठिए उठिए, स्नान करिए, और ये आपके सुरक्षित रहने के लिए बहुत आएंगे और भगदड़ मचने की संभावना है।
Happened during that stampede. Stay with that full frame, Aditi. This is when we were showing the barricades fall. You know, such a confluence of people. And it is so sad, I want to say, so sad that this happened, but even more sad that there were some lobbies who were using this as an opportunity to talk about mismanagement, why were so many people allowed, were VVIPs treated differently, which is complete hogwash. It was not the case. Everybody was there, and these are one of those situations which happened. So
there were more than around 6 crore people that day.
Yeah, but I would still say, go back to the earlier visuals of the success of the Maha Kumbh. I would still say that the Maha Kumbh was a massive success, one of the biggest visual moments of the year, one of the biggest news stories of the year.
I'm sure.
Spiritual gathering.
I want to say one thing, Aishwarya. I'm sure on this table, all of us have a Maha Kumbh story. And for me, I had a couple of Maha Kumbh stories. I just want to share with you as a journalist in the newsroom. I didn't know my parents had gone to Maha Kumbh. It was a surprise to me. I'm in Delhi NCR. I get a call from my parents one day, and they say that we have reached Maha Kumbh. They were on a road trip. My father and mother reached Maha Kumbh, and they said, do you have anyone who can help me get inside? And they had no idea. And I was shocked that they were there. I was scared because it was on the day of the stampede. It was on the day of the stampede. I told them, what are you doing? There's just been a stampede. And they said, do you have a reporter? Can they help us? Very innocently, they asked me, do you have a reporter who can help us get inside? I said, you can't. I said, you can't. It is the Maha Kumbh, and you just be careful. And a lot of people, and the reason I'm sharing this is because in that period, we got a lot of calls as journalists saying, how do we get there? Can you help us get there? We could not.
And from across the world. Okay. US, from Russia, from Canada, everyone wanted to be there.
Yeah, that's the drone visual of the Maha Kumbh.
66 crore people.
Yes,
66 crore.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to the next one. Yeah. And since the year began with the story of Hindu consolidation at Maha Kumbh, remember today, the last day of the year, is also the second anniversary of the Pran Pratishtha of Ram Temple at Ayodhya, as per the Hindu calendar. And this also befittingly is the year when RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, marked 100 years of its existence, of being set up. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi described his former ideological alma mater as the biggest NGO in the world. So let's go and have the moment of Dhwajarohan. Remember, again,
this is the
same year.
Let me just describe this. This is a very historic moment when the Ram Dhwaj is put up there in the Ram Mandir. This happened on November 25th, 2025. And this visual has a tremendous significance because it marks the ritual completion of the construction.
Yes.
Because Pran Pratishtha, the construction was not complete. Yes. Now, the Pran Pratishtha happens in January 2024, and November 2025, you have the Dhwajarohan, which means the construction is complete. Yes. We would like to play the visual when, amidst chants of Jai Shri Ram from thousands of devotees out there, Prime Minister leads the ceremony and hoists this, I think, 40-foot wide, huge Ram Dhwaj atop the shikhar of the Mandir. And this was a big moment of the year. And importantly, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Chief Mohan Bhagwat was there with him. He pressed the button along with Bhagwat. Yes. Along with Bhagwat to hoist the flag. It took 4 minutes. It took full 4 minutes for the Dhwaj to go up there. This is a 10-foot high, 22-foot long, 11 kg, right-angle, triangular saffron flag, which features the radiant sun for valor, Om for cosmic essence, right? And this was made in Ahmedabad over 25 days with 3 fabric layers: Dharma, victory, and Ram's legacy. All this is a huge moment for Hindus. Huge moment for Hindus across the world. Let's play the moment for a bit.
This is really a historic moment for Ayodhya. Prime Minister Narendra Modi set to hoist the saffron flag atop the newly completed Ram Temple. And this is not really a ceremony, but a powerful symbol of India's, cultural continuity, dignity, and unity.
All right. So.
And I want to just say this here that, I've had the great pleasure, and so does Abhishek. Both of us know Nipendra Mishra personally.
Yes.
Right. And we went to meet him so many times. He worked with the Prime Minister's principal secretary in first term, right? And he has had so much contribution here to making this happen in a short period of time. And would you like to say a little bit? I think you went there also. You covered the making of the Ram Mandir.
Absolutely.
Share one of your personal stories here.
Yeah, so from the time that the foundation stone was laid to the time that the temple was inaugurated, I have gone there on the ground at the spot, interviewed Mr. Nipendra Mishra twice or thrice, and engaged with him here in his office in Delhi. And but for him, the speed and the ease with which the temple came up, the hygiene, the overall hygiene in terms of public expenses, expenditure, etc., with which the temple has come up, sealing it from controversy, There is no controversy around the temple construction.
Some people tried.
Some people tried, and despite that, of course, it goes back to his days. He has been a bureaucrat in Uttar Pradesh before he moved to Delhi. But I think a lot of credit should go to Mr. Nipin Mishra. You rightly mentioned his name, Arnab. And Dhwajarohan in many ways is coming together of stars for
It's ironic because he was the chief secretary to Mulayam Singh when Mulayam Singh was the chief minister, when Ram Temple, when action was being taken there. So he was the main officer there. And then he was in PMO. So a lot of controversy. Opposition tried. Akhilesh Yadav tried. Congress tried. But he kept it away.
Yeah, but a bureaucrat does not take the political decisions of Mulayam.
No, but Congress made a point that they wanted to push in because they wanted to attack the Prime Minister's office and the BJP, so they tried.
Well, what do I say about the Congress this year? I mean, this year is not very different from other years. The only difference is that apparently the Congress has got divided into two parts, which is a Priyanka Vadra part and a Rahul Gandhi part, and all this superficial analysis which is going on right now about Priyanka Vadra. And Priyanka Vadra is being very sort of, nice to the BJP of late. And she's also got some praise from the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, I think, who, I don't know the phrase that he used to describe her, maybe a positive phrase. And fact of the matter is, all this is Lutyens' gossip.
Yeah.
On the ground, the party's finished. You can see what happened in Bihar. Maybe you want to talk about that. Yeah.
Bihar was very clear. They are right next to AIMIM, one seat here and there. That's it. That's what the reality of Rahul Gandhi is. You see, we're talking about Bihar and Delhi. Delhi we'll talk in a while. Bihar, we have to understand. Right when it was the peak of election, the man was in South America learning to make coffee. That's what Rahul Gandhi is. You can't win elections like that. And right after losing Bihar, he went to Germany, selecting a new 450cc motorcycle for himself. So that's what he does.
Yeah.
You see? So,
but you Lutyens types give him a lot of attention.
No, not me. You don't allow me to go into Delhi anymore. You don't allow me to go into Delhi. Not me.
You Lutyens guys.
No, and you see, that's the same group which sit in these clubs, which sit in these Delhi five-star hotels, which were hell-bent from Patna's
Aishwarya, have you been to the press club?
No, I have not. I have never become a member.
Have you been to a press club?
I don't like to.
Have you been to the press
But what
club?
I'm telling you is, from Patna's Maurya to Delhi's big clubs, they had given it off. They've said that BJP is losing like they did in Haryana. So they don't know. They don't know what's happening on ground. They don't know what's taking for the people of Bihar.
I think that
they only analyze.
I think just a aside.
I don't know what from the big classes.
I just want to make an aside about before we go into the Bihar election. I want to make a comment. Shazia Elmi of the BJP put out a social media tweet recently in which she said that I just came across this clip which features me as well, and it tells you about the power structure between the media and the Congress establishment and Sonia Gandhi. And her point was about how Manmohan Singh was waiting for Sonia Gandhi to come for a coffee afternoon with the Delhi media. For me, that was not. All of us instructionally should see that video because it shows the rather cozy relationship for all the people who call others names between the media at that point of time and Sonia Gandhi. And I'll take names if you don't mind. I'm not going to say anything good, bad, pejorative, ugly, superficial or false about anyone. I'm just making a factual point. I saw Shekhar Gupta there. I saw Mr. Arun Puri there. I'm just talking about names. I don't know if I saw Mr. Chandan Mitra also hanging around there somewhere. I saw this, the lady who comes on our programs as a pro-Congress voice nowadays.
Renu Mittal.
Renu Mittal. Renu Mittal there. In fact, even Shazia Elmi was rather nice to Sonia Gandhi. And who else did I see there? They were all being rather nice to Sonia Gandhi.
Fawning over her?
Sort of fawning over her. And they were completely, the person who was in that visual almost unimportant would be Manmohan Singh, because when Najma Heptullah, I wish I could play this clip, everyone should see, when Najma Heptullah walks in with Sonia Gandhi, I think Najma Heptullah appears to be more important than the Prime Minister. And I'm just saying it. I'm saying that visual was there. This is so, we need to see that vision. We need to go back to that time. And you need to understand the power structure, the power relationship between the media then.
And now.
I know nobody should mind. I'm not saying anything wrong, good, bad. Mr. Shekhar Gupta was there. Arun Puri was there. There was others there. They were just there. I'm not saying good, bad, ugly. They were there. And everybody knew each other. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with everybody knowing each other. But that visual spoke for itself. Now we won't speak any more about it. But that clip was very, very wonderful, I think, because it told us a lot about the relationship between the media and the power structure. I wouldn't even call it Latvian's ecosystem. I would say the media of that time.
Yeah.
And the politicians of that time, right? And now let's go back to the story of the moment. Sorry for the slight diversion. It just came back to mind. You know, it just came back to mind. Bihar elections. For me, I think there was the moment of Bihar elections was, listen, let's admit it, the same media today also gets it wrong. None of you guys, none of you, including you, political editor, could predict 200 seats.
Scale of the victory.
200 seats for the BJP.
No, scale of the victory, no.
Nobody could.
I'll tell you what dozen BJP leaders, including general secretaries, who say that BJP is going to get this. The numbers BJP did.
Yeah.
The BJP leaders.
Why so?
Because they are unable to understand the sentiment of the people. That's what I'm saying. By sitting in Maurya in Patna and these clubs in Delhi, you cannot understand what the people of this country are sensing. And Bihar election is a litmus test, like the Haryana was. Like the election in Haryana was. Everyone gave it away. All of these names, which Arnab just took, all of them said that BJP has lost Haryana, and in Bihar they said Nitish in itself is a story. That what's wrong with him. But they said that BJP has lost it.
I think
they said BJP will not win.
Yeah, I think this election was so important for the Prime Minister because he was, after the last election, I know when he came in, he still declared victory after the last general election. But he knew, I think the Prime Minister knew that he's turned things around when he came in this time.
Yeah.
So there was a genuine happiness when he was waving the gamcha. Do I have the clip of that?
Yes.
Can we play the clip of that? I remember when he was waving the gamcha, super victorious after the victory. I think this is a big political moment of the year.
हर माटी को सोना करने वाली कलाकारी है जी हाँ हम बिहारी हैं जी थोड़े संस्कारी हैं जी हाँ हम बिहारी हैं जी
ये बिल्कुल ट्रेडमार्क बिहारी स्टाइल में जो अभी मनोज तिवारी स्टेज पे कर रहे थे गमछा लेके हाथ में हिलाते हुए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी मैसेजिंग है इट्स अ वेरी स्ट्रांग पॉलिटिकल मैसेज बीजेपी ने बिहार में जो सुनामी खुद विपक्ष कह रहा है हम नहीं कह रहे मुकेश सहनी ने कहा सुनामी में विपक्ष बह गया है ये वीआईपी के मुकेश सहनी है जो एक समय बीजेपी के साथ होते थे
और ये प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के लिए बहुत बड़ी हाई वाटर मार्क कही जाएगी ये चुनाव क्योंकि अगर हिस्टोरिकली इसको देखा जाए ऐतिहासिक तौर पर तो 2010 में बीजेपी के 200 एनडीए के 206 सीटें हुई थी और इस बार प्रधानमंत्री जी ने प्रूव कर दिया है कि ही इज केपेबल ऑफ क्रिएटिंग अ ह्यूज कोलिशन मतलब लोगों ने 2004 के चुनाव के बाद कहा था कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी की कोलिशन नहीं बना पाए मगर इस बार जिस तरह कोलिशन समीकरण अरिथमेटिक और लोगों को ले जाना चिराग पासवान को सामने करना नीतीश जी को सामने ले जाना 100% तक वोट ट्रांसफर करना और जो इमर्जिंग डेटा मेरे पास है उससे लगता है कि जो ये अलायंस है इसने प्रो इनकम्बेंसी वेव करा दी बिहार में प्रो इनकम्बेंसी करना जाति की समीकरण को तोड़ के हिंदू वोट को एक साथ करना हिंदुत्व और विकास का वोट सामने ले जाना और उसके साथ इतनी बड़ी जीत जो है 202 सीटों की जो जीत है उसमें उनकी पर्सनल इंटेग्रिटी पर्सनल इन्वॉल्वमेंट इतनी ज्यादा है क्योंकि इनकी फेस पे चुनाव जीता क्रेडिबिलिटी
उनकी पॉपुलैरिटी बीजेपी का
लगातार इन्होंने नीतीश कुमार को का समर्थन किया है
बीजेपी
लगातार
क्षेत्रीय नेतृत्व था ही नहीं
मैं ये बड़ी बात ये कहूंगा कि नीतीश कुमार ने हमेशा बीजेपी का समर्थन नहीं किया है मगर नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने और बीजेपी ने हमेशा नीतीश कुमार का समर्थन किया
Okay, banter in the studio. Okay, moving on to one of the defining visuals of 2025, ladies and gentlemen, taking you back to perhaps it is the biggest aviation tragedy in India. The Air India AI-17 crash in Ahmedabad. June 12th, 2025, over 250 lives were lost. And months later, as we broadcast at the end of 2025, we don't have answers. In fact, there are some reports, Arnab, that people are sitting across the table somewhere in America and deciding how to word that report. But it's a tragedy, what happened. And it's an even bigger tragedy that Boeing has not been held to account.
Yeah. And Boeing is advertising even more about its stronger and stronger and growing stronger commercial relationship with Air India. Regardless of that, about which I have no comment. And Air India and Boeing are commenting about how they've got the great planes here in India, again, on which I will have no comment. But the fact is, this was a Boeing plane. It was a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, AI-171, and we still do not have a clear answer about what happened. What we know is that all kinds of jargon is being thrown at us. And this is sad, I want to say to the people of India. At the end of 2025, do you know what happened? You don't know what happened. Have you been told what happened? You have not been told what happened. Have members of parliament been told in the standing committee or whatever committee what happened? They have been told what happened. And this ambiguity, the situation of, it could be anything, allows the Wall Street Journal to put out a story saying the captain turned off the switch that controlled the fuel flowing into the plane, trying to put out this theory that the captain was on a suicide mission. This is so wrong. Abhishek, this is wrong. You allow this ambiguity about what happened at that point of time, and you have a AAIB report that did not deem it correct to name the pilots in their conversation in the preliminary report. You have created a great sense of disbelief among the people of India.
We have seen
that something like this can happen and they don't even get an answer as to what happened, and they'll be forced to fly the same planes every day.
And his father also came and he spoke about how he was the father of the pilot, Captain Sabharwal, came to the Supreme Court, broke down Arnab in the Supreme Court and said, they are now speaking about my father. When the judges said that don't burden yourself, we don't believe this. So let's not burden you with the thought that we are blaming the father. We are blaming the pilot. We are not.
It's the easiest thing.
Let's play the clip of that moment. I remember that was such a difficult day for us in the newsroom, first of all, and I was scrambling that day. And I called some of our friends in the Gujarati television and broadcast and video media, and I asked them, can you rush to the place? Can your reporters go there? Before the Republic crew reached, we had reporters on the ground from other networks who were reporting for us. I'm so grateful for them for doing that. And but when the footage started coming in, I couldn't believe what I saw, because we saw a part of the plane jutting out from a building, right? And the full gravity of what had happened, it was not clear to us. And the footage of the plane's actual descent into the ground came much later, much later. Let's play that clip when the news broke, viewers, one of the biggest news stories of 25.
This entire plane is in tatters, you can see, and the more than 10 fire brigade teams are on the spot. Now, what we understand is that the Prime Minister office and the CM has taken cognizance. There are all the officials are rushing in to this site, and the airport operations have been halted till at least 5 p.m. right now. And more visuals coming in, viewers. There is no statement yet from the Tata Group. They only say that they are ascertaining the details. There is no official confirmation, but what we know is that, at least from our sources in Air India, is that 105 casualties confirmed. This is the breaking news we have right now, what we know so far in this case. And in fact, Air India plane with 242 people on board, it departed from 1:39 p.m. It departed 1:39 p.m. from the runway.
We have a statement from the Tata Group which says that they are very sorry about this, profound sorrow. They say there's been a tragic incident following 171, and then the rest of it, I must say, Mr. Chandrasekhar has just put out a templated reply,
and trying to divert attention from responsibility by saying their focus is on affected people and their families. And this is not the reply that one expects from the Tata Group. This is a templated reply aimed at diverting responsibility when they very well know that issues have been serious and grave about how they've been running Air India, and these questions will only get more serious as days go forward. Templated reply from the Tata Group right now, aimed at diverting attention from their complicity and culpability and their accountability for an incident like this.
Yeah, I have an anecdote here. In fact, the moment it happened, I was somewhere in Delhi at a hospital, and Arnab called me saying, "Where the hell are you?" And boss called and he said, "Where are you? Why are you not in the studio?" And I didn't know what was happening. And I heard...
How come I'm the bad guy in every story that you got out there?
No, because you're the guy who was in the studio. You were in the studio.
Just 1 minute. 1 minute. Stop playing victim here, Niranjan. You were in a hospital and I was being bad to you. Please don't spread the stereotype.
No.
I'm considered bad enough already. But going back to the story, because, after this, when I saw the visuals of Campbell coming in and Campbell being followed, I don't know if you have that clip, yes, Campbell being followed there by Harsha.
That's the sequence.
By Gopi and Harsha. Can I play that clip, please? Look at his attitude. Yeah, let's play that.
Mr. Wilson, Air India is seeking temporary subsidy from government over...
Good morning, Harsha. How are you? How are you, Harsha, today? Nice to see you again.
Yes, but you have to respond to the questions. Why India is seeking
I'm wishing you good morning.
Subsidy.
Good morning. It's nice to see you.
But 4,000 crore temporary subsidy.
No. Good morning.
Not good morning, but we are asking the questions here. Why is India seeking temporary subsidy after the Pakistan institution?
India still have contract with Turkish Technique?
I don't think this is the appropriate time to talk about that. We're very focused on supporting the families and everyone affected by today's incident.
We just wanted to know, is Air India accountable for this?
Look, it's our aircraft, it's our crew. We need to make sure the investigation is well supported. But first and foremost, we want to look after the people that have been affected by this incident.
One last question. There were multiple show cause notices given. Why were they ignored?
I don't believe this is the appropriate time to talk about things that are unrelated to this incident.
You would at least have information about the Turkish Technique. Do you have contract with Turkish Technique?
As I said before, this is not the time to talk about that. We're focused very much on the people that have been affected by this incident.
Yes or no? Just yes or no. Mr. Wilson, please say yes or no. India still have contract with Turkish Technique?
I don't think this is the appropriate time to talk about that. We're very focused on supporting the families and everyone affected by today's incident.
We just wanted to know, is Air India accountable for this?
Look, it's our aircraft, it's our crew. We need to make sure the investigation is well supported. But first and foremost, we want to look after the people that have been affected by this incident.
One last question. There were multiple show cause notices given. Why were they ignored?
I don't believe this is the appropriate time to talk about things that are unrelated to this incident.
You would at least have information about the Turkish Technique. Do you have contract with Turkish Technique?
As I said before, this is not the time to talk about that. We're focused very much on the people that have been affected by this incident.
Yes or no? Just yes or no. Mr. Wilson, please say yes or no.
Again, I just want to mention, if I may, 2 points out here. June 12th, the crash happens. September, the same person goes for a meeting and seeks 4,000 crores in additional compensation for loss to Air India because of Operation Sindhur. They do not give an explanation as to what happened, but they want the government to fund them. And I had, at that point of time, questioned both the government and Air India. And the people who have started doing this analysis is Republic repivoting themselves. Why don't they ask, why don't they include this in the case? Because which channel took on the Tatas, which channel took on Air India, which channel took on the government at that point of time? Conveniently, they did not talk about it at that point of time. They only woke up. They should ask themselves, none of the media, viewers, this is a year in which none of the media asked the questions to Air India and the Tatas that they should have. Let that be put on record. One of them actually went into the VP PR interview with Mr. Chandrasekharan, trying to give the person a platform. So we've seen this. These are the same kind of people who give PR interviews, took PR interviews of Kalmadi after the CWG scam. You want to add something to this?
Quick point, it's quite disturbing because I just want to put this out. The AAIB report, when it actually came out, this was around 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you remember, on the call that we had just before that, because we were aware this was actually coming out. In fact, an insider within the aviation sector actually pointed out that look at the timing when the US markets really close and the AAIB report really comes out. And more importantly, almost everyone highlighted the fact that what was the need to selectively put out a transcript of the pilots when we do not have the full picture. What has basically happened now? It was leaked, and now this has led
and it
this
leaked
kind
to
of
foreign media platforms. It leaked to foreign media platforms.
That was deliberate. It was leaked on platforms so that the PR industry, which wanted to give an exit to the guilty parties, could get one. So that was one of the clearly the big stories of 2025. We're still doing our recap.
Aviation, we have another big story that dominated the news. In fact, in the last few weeks, it's been a headline. Shawan, right? Indigo crisis.
Now, in fact, this happened on 5th of December when we saw a trickling of certain cancellations that were actually taking place. Moments thereafter, thousands of cancellations, never before. In fact, we are talking about India's biggest aviation airline, Indigo, with a 60% market dominance. And it turns out that what they made it look like, these are just mere cancellations that were actually taking place. But the images thereafter that started coming into the newsroom were actually horrific. You had people who missed their weddings. I think so. There are some more pictures that we can actually
play one of those visuals out there.
Someone lost, someone couldn't go for the examination. And what were we told? We were told that we were basically adjusting to a new roster.
Some software, some issue.
That was what we were told officially by a dominant player in the aviation sector, which once again reflects the crisis that the Indian aviation sector has been hit by in 2025.
But I don't think the bureaucracy or the government has fully understood this yet. I remember recently I went into a meeting, I met some bureaucrats and I told them that there must not be duopoly in any sectors. And then they said that, well, you know, we don't create the market conditions. It's a free market. You know, the bureaucrats can't intervene. We didn't bring down Jet Airways. We didn't bring down Kingfisher. Maybe Indigo and Air India are better than the others. And it is this kind of complacency in the bureaucracy which is leading to this chaos. Let's play the visuals that came in from early September 2025 because it just went haywire. And we went on air and we said, listen, what's going on? It's an orchestrated crisis. It is Indigo which has created the crisis. The Indigo did not comply. Indigo knew people will be troubled. Indigo wanted to trouble the people of India to get their way through with the government of India, and the government of India caved in.
It was a deliberate act.
It was caved in.
DGC and the Ministry of Civil Aviation is equally culpable because here they were aware of the fact. They were told other airlines did actually follow. The smaller airlines did follow. And in fact, DGC officials who were inside the meeting, they were present.
Let's play the clips so that viewers remember what happened in early December. We never forget it again. Let's play the clip. Big story is happening towards the end of December. Now we're in December 2025. Play the clips, please. What happened?
News now coming in. This is with regards to Indigo Airlines, which has cancelled over 70 flights, including those from Bengaluru as well as Mumbai airports. So this is mainly due to crew shortages. Scores of Indigo flights were delayed at various airports as the carrier basically struggled to get the crew for operating its flights. Indigo so far has said that there have been cancellations and some delays that have also taken place. The details that we have with regards to the cancellation over 70 flights due to crew shortages, what we are being told. 38.
This is Aravali, isn't it?
Yeah. This is your game now.
There were hundreds of thousands of people who were stuck all over. And then we reported that it was Indigo was to blame. The Pilots Association came and said, look here, this is not a situation created because of winter traffic. This has happened because it's a direct consequence of Indigo's prolonged and unorthodox lean manpower strategy. They wanted to save money, maximize their profits, and they couldn't care less about what happened to flight operations. They escalated.
They did not.
But the government also allowed them to.
They were allowed. That's what
the government allowed them to.
Jet and Spice.
Yeah.
They went down.
So the story
was off.
For me, the story at the end of 2026 was, Aishwarya, that the government was together with the erring party. The government's regulatory mechanism should act against and punish the erring party.
A full terminal
the government, ministry, minister, DGCA approved the schedules without checking the operational feasibility. The government, I don't want to say the government was in with Indigo, but the government should realize that 1.4 billion people elected them, not Indigo and Air India. Yeah. And it appeared to us that the government was in the grip of Indigo and Air India. And DGCA had no responsibility, and the minister did not know, and the feeling was that this is too big to question. This is a feeling which comes back to us, the people of India, again and again. Too big to question.
Tata, Indigo, everyone, they felt that it's too big.
It becomes like these are business models. Too big businesses. You cannot question big businesses beyond a point. This year, we end the year by realizing that, yes,
in fact,
we can. Yes, please.
In fact, we called it the biggest national emergency. I remember that.
It was.
It was.
It was without a doubt.
Even the FDTL investigation that was actually carried out first happened here when we said this was something that was known to Indigo last year itself.
It's been an aviation disaster this year in India. You know, Indigo, air crash, Air India. The mess,
there is a silver lining for the aviation disaster. Arnab, if I could.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a meme in Pakistan which said India has more flights than we have donkeys in Pakistan. It's because we had so many flights to cancel.
No, the fact that there are people to travel does not mean that the government can take or the regulators can take them for granted. Passengers have spoken up. Who are the passengers, Abhishek? They are the people.
People suffer.
Yeah, so duopoly on one side and the people on the other. Who wins, Abhishek? Yeah. People win. Yeah. Duopoly loses.
Yeah. They are duopolies.
Duopolies must
Swiggy, Zomato is a duopoly. Yeah. I mean, Airtel, Jio is a duopoly. I mean, do we really do something about it maybe in 2026?
Are we taking a break or are we going on?
We're going on.
We're going on. Okay. Where do we move to? What is the other visual? The news story, the clips that you have? Aravali. Over to Rhythm on this one. The big story. Give full credit to Rhythm for the way she's pursued the Aravali case. Full credit to Shaman for the way he's followed it up. Full credit also to Shambhavi, our reporter on the ground who did a great job reporting this. Over to you,
Let's be absolutely clear, Arnab. The Aravali story was not just an accident. This was a Republic campaign. I think it's one of the first times we are seeing the system quietly diluted the protection for one of the world's oldest mountain ranges. Republic was the only one that asked the initial questions as to who benefits. We had our investigation that was being carried out. Shavan and Shambhavi were having this investigation for 10 days. Mahinder was the person they were speaking to. There was illegal mining. It exploded. We were showing those visuals when there was bribe being caught on Republic TV cameras. We blew the lid of illegal mining. Just as we were showing that investigation, Niranjan, there was national outrage because after our campaign had galvanized, then came the big interview.
Yes.
Arnab spoke to the man who authored the judgment of 20th of November, Justice B.R. Gavai. When that interview happened, I got calls from judges, senior advocates. They were trying to really grasp what had happened because I saw for one of the first times after the Yashwant Verma case, it was something they had not experienced. The former Chief Justice of India came on the channel, spoke to Arnab, and they felt something was amiss. Yes. After that, I'll tell you, with my sources, the government started making calls to earlier amicus in the cases. They started to wonder what could possibly happen. And a few days later,
on a Friday, that's the 27th of December, we're being told that there's going to be a suo motu review by the Supreme Court in this case. This is just after Hari Salve, an amicus in this case, comes on Arnab's show, gives him an interview. We're actually going to try and take a look at that. That's so crucial because every big breaking news of the Aravali was actually happening right here with our campaign and what Shambhavi did. If we can play those full-frame visuals also of what happened when Shambhavi was in Sikar and in those other places where Mahinder and other people tried to offer bribes. First, we're going to go across and show that visual of Mahinder who tried to offer a bribe to...
I just want to put it in the context. This is a mining mafia guy. Yes. Mining guy, mafia or not, I don't know. Mining guy who is trying to bribe a Republic reporter who's exposed him and what he's doing. We can play this, yeah.
नहीं सर बस आप हमसे छोटी हैं
बड़े भाई के नाते जो है ना ना पाइए आप छोटा सा उपहार
मैं सब
क्या बताओ छोटा सा उपहार है या आपके
नहीं सर
अरे ये क्या
नहीं सर बिल्कुल मैं समझ रही हूँ मैं सिर्फ आपसे जानकारी लेने
नहीं वो आपकी बहुत अटपन है मेरे से मैंने ये भी आपसे निवेदन किया कि कभी भी आपको मेरे सिस्टम से संबंधित किसी भी प्रकार के आप जानकारी चाहिए तो आप कभी भी 24 घंटे मुझे आप कॉल कर सकती है मैं जो भी उपलब्ध होगा आपको जानकारी लेकिन ये आपको आपका ट्रैवलिंग में देखो आप पे बहुत खर्चे हो रहे हैं
सर मैं समझ रही हूँ और फिर मुझे वो मिलता है इतना तो
नहीं मिलता है तो इसमें क्या छोटा सा उपहार है कोई नहीं इसको भाई की तरफ से गिफ्ट मान के रख लो इसको अच्छा
आशीर्वाद दे दीजिए आपका काफी है
नहीं आप भाई की तरफ मान के इसको रखो
नहीं बिल्कुल आप रखिए आप बिल्कुल रखिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका चलिए
So clear, Arnab, very clearly illegal mining, this Republic campaign. We were the only channel not doing armchair journalism. Our reporter, my colleague is there. She speaks to them. They offer her a bribe. That's how the campaign picked up with the power of what we were doing at that time.
Yeah, I think visuals are so telling, Rhythm. I was just thinking as you spoke out there, a mining mafia trying to bribe a Republic reporter is how we are tried to bribe and got snubbed. Year starts with a judge in whose house there are crores and crores of cash which are found. What happened to that story? People have a right to know what happened to the burning cash story. So to the people watching this program, I would say that, don't think we are going to let these guys get away, whether this be corrupt judiciary, whether this be corrupt politicians, whether this be corrupt businessmen, whether this be corrupt business houses, whether all of these people come together also, we will still challenge them. And these visuals are not the dying embers, but the burning, simmering fire in the hearts of the people of this country against corruption in the system. We still don't know. And the judiciary thought that they have got away with it. I want to tell the judiciary, with the greatest of respect to the judiciary, remember Aravali. And remember that people are still wanting to know what happened to the case of the burning cash. Burning cash, Aravali, forced retreat in the case of Sengar. A 15-year-old girl raped by a 50-year-old politician. System let the rapist off the hook almost in a mini acquittal. Aravali, sheer brazenness rhythm.
Yes.
Sheer brazenness rhythm. Like in this concert of territorial battle between the executive and the judiciary slips underneath unnoticed a definitional change of a 2 billion-year-old mountain range. But they thought nobody would notice rhythm. They thought nobody would notice. They thought, the government and the judiciary thought nobody would notice. And when they notice, the people are so smart and people catch on and people are so well aware that they started asking the questions.
It was so brazenly done. But I think there are some stories, Arnab, that are picked up and there are some stories that just happened because I think there is a conspiracy by the universe. This was just waiting to happen. It had slipped up 20th November, the judgment came, the judge had retired, everything was going fine, and suddenly the environmentalists spoke up. You picked up the story. I truly believe the campaign did have an impact. I have never seen, it's unprecedented that a Supreme Court vacation bench takes up a matter, takes up a Supreme Court judgment and stays it in one hearing on a Monday. I got calls from people who were a part of the bench who gave and authored this Aravali November 20th judgment. Congratulations, your campaign led to this.
You're saying those who gave the judgment congratulated Republic?
Yes. In a wary tone, in a guarded tone, but yes, that, you know, this coverage led to this. So, you know, it was begrudging respect, I would say, but this happened, and then, of course, there are daggers drawn.
Is it very good? I don't care about daggers. Is it very good that at least the judiciary in this country has acknowledged the power of the independent media as a conscience keeper of the country?
I think both the cases, Arnab. Justice Yashwant Verma's case was again just going to be slipped down. Yeah. We picked it up on a Sunday. I remember you had a marathon coverage. Yeah. All the bar associations came up, spoke with you, and then suddenly it spiraled into something that was causing fireworks in the judiciary.
Yeah, you know, that we were living with a structural paradox in our country. And the structural paradox was that for the last 4 or 5 years, you know, people thought that executive, judiciary, government, institutions, our constitutional bodies are beyond question. I think in the years that are to come, Abhishek, Rhythm, I'll tell you, transparency to an extreme level is what these systems will have to get used to. Yeah. You know, they can't be, as they say, as the cliche goes, judge, jury, and executioner in their own cases.
Absolutely.
No.
Which they are.
I mean, I've seen this battle going on. We did a debate. I remember Arun Jaitley came. What a wonderful person. He did a debate at FICCI Auditorium on NGAC. Judiciary versus NGAC. Executive and the collegium and who should appoint and judge the judges. But it was a great debate. I mean, Soli Sorabji was there and Arun Jaitley was there. But after all these years, I look back and I say that in all these debates, isn't there an assumption that all the power structures are answerable only to the judiciary and the executive, that nobody else almost exists? The media is nowhere, you know, and everybody else can be put in an echo chamber. I think what has happened in 2026 is 2025 is very important. Believe me, it will lead up to 20. There is a feeling this year that the people are going to question things. We are only reflecting that sentiment from Air India, Tata Group, responsibility, corporate houses, Indigo, Aravali, Sindhur, AQI. You know, I think that people feel they need a greater voice now in the way things happen. So I just wanted to place it in context. I always look at things a bit theoretically, but I look at it like that. But wow, Aravali, big one this year, right?
Absolutely. In fact,
we want to run some clips, you know.
We just want to run a clip of the shift in the entire Aravali focus when Arnab spoke to the person who authored the judgment, Justice B.R. Kavai.
And I must say here, before we run the interview, that I must thank Rhythm for playing a tremendous role in getting the interview and making it happen, and for the grace of allowing me to do the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my attempt always to go to the nub of the issue. Joining us is Justice B.R. Gavai, former Chief Justice of India and the author of this judgment on the Aravalis, which is being debated all over the country. Justice Gavai, I hope you will go through my questions and give me appropriate replies, because fundamentally, and I would like to begin by saying this, Justice Gavai, that I have a fundamental disagreement with your judgment, which as a citizen of India, I'm entitled to have. The Aravalis stood for 2 billion years. The judgment that has redefined them was delivered 3 days before your retirement. What was the hurry, Justice Gavai? The judgment was delivered on 20th November and you retired on 23rd November. What was the tearing hurry?
See, I have been monitoring this issue for more than 3 years. If you go through the judgment, we had raised firstly, see, judges are not supposed to justify their judgment, but since this is an important issue and there's a misconception about the judgment, I agreed to speak to you. If you go through the judgment entirely, the difficulty is that the persons speak about the judgment without even reading them in the entirety. So if you go through the entire judgment, I had given the entire narration as to how the matter arose. There was some issue with regard to the difference adopted by the various states with regard to definition of Aravali hills and Aravali ranges. So in order to settle those matters, we heard the matter on number of occasions. Various issues were framed, and after hearing the matter, once you hear the matter at length, if you don't decide the judgment, it's like
Justice Gavai, may I ask you, how can you pass that comment on me on my program that I have made my judgments on the issue without having gone through the judgment? I would politely, completely disagree with this presumption of yours and remind you that I have seen your judgment in entirety. In fact, no, I don't think you can pass a judgment like that, pass a comment like that on my observations, sir. I take offense to that. Having said that.
No. What I've seen on your program is that it is being projected as if we have given a complete license for mining in the Aravali Hill, but that's not correct. If you go through the judgment, we have in fact imposed certain more restrictions on mining in the Aravali hills and ranges.
Guys, come on, get involved. Where did Abhishek just go?
Abhishek has disappeared. While he's gone, I just wanted to make a small point that we are the only team, in fact, Arnab, that many years back when we launched Republic, one of our stories was a sting inside a court. Because we were on the point of judiciary, I wanted to mention that. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is because sometimes we think twice before speaking, and Rhythm knows. Rhythm usually cautions us on very sensitive cases or legal matters. But there was corruption inside a courtroom in Patna many years back, following which even the judiciary stepped in and took action to suspend a few officers of the court. So in this case as well, because you mentioned sometimes how it is uncomfortable to ask those questions, we've done that. We've done that. Yes, Rhythm.
It was a massive case. Prakash had done this investigation where the registry was involved with the court and how they were having this entire nexus with them. So absolutely, yes.
Okay. So we'll go to the next story. This is a story that the Republic Media Network has tracked very closely. This is the Dharmastala conspiracy. Dharmastala is a very popular and it's a revered temple town in Karnataka. And there was a very concerted attempt to malign Hindus via a gang. There was a masked man, and there was a narrative to show Dharmastala as a place where a conspiracy was being hatched by trustees and by Hindu groups, etc. But it did not last. It was the Republic Media Network which lifted the mask, exposing the lies. This is the year when we exposed the anti-Hindu gang in Dharmastala. This is how we covered it. Dharmastala is very sacred. But today there's something that's ongoing there which raises many questions. And the claims are being questioned. Now we are being told that of the 8 sites that have been searched, nothing found in 7 sites. Just in one site there were some bone fragments found. Some bone fragments found in one of the sites. And we are hearing, and there are more claimants who are coming forward and saying that the bones or the bone fragments that were found were not even that of a woman, could be that of a man. And they are questioning the statement given by this so-called whistleblower, the masked man who was found, or who's rather given the witness statement in the first place, who came out and claimed he was a whistleblower.
Yeah. Can I say something on Dharmasthala? I think the media was part of the conspiracy. You think so?
100%.
The media, did the media take money? Did the certain section of the extreme left liberal Maoist media?
Yes.
Did the Maoist media take money?
They did.
Did the Maoist YouTubers take money?
Yes.
Did the Maoist YouTubers, the Maoist media, the Maoist websites take money in cash, or did they take money in kind? Otherwise, this stupid story, this cock and bull story, this mad story, this insane piece of fiction which was carried by people who claim to launder the news, right, minute by minute, all these launderers of the news who do this minute by minute must be investigated because it's the stupidest story of the year. I would say it's the biggest damn hoax of the year.
I have a question, Niranjan. I mean, why was this masked man being allowed to have the mask?
A masked man, the stupid launderers of media who minute the news say there is a masked man and there is a masked man who has a skull in his hand. You know, I'm sorry to be impolite about it, but in India, skulls are there in many people's hands.
This is not questioning him.
And the masked man says that I have a skull in my hand and I think people have been raped and people have been murdered, and if you help me, I will take you to it. The stupid media, the Maoist YouTubers, then go with the masked man and take the whole government machinery with them. And for a month,
20 sites
for a damn month, between July and August, all these Al Jazeera types, they all go crazy. Articles, Hindu temple, center of rape and murder. And there was a Waqf-like movement being done on it. I call these people the Maoist Waqf mobilizers of the digital medium. These are people who would say, let's create some craziness, right? Let's create some situation. Let's bring a masked man. Let's bring a skull. It's like almost as if a clickbaitish content creator has made the news.
And the government was protecting the guy.
Well,
they were not doing anything.
Yes.
A masked former sanitation worker takes a skull in his hand, wears a mask, and takes the whole system in Karnataka for a ride. And then the media went into hiding. And I want to tell the media which went into hiding, the launderers of news who do it minute by minute, that they must not do this kind of stupidity ever again. Listen to me. I'm telling you guys, don't do this kind of bad thing again. You may have any motivation, but if you want to write fiction, then go to the people who wrote the script for Dhurandhar. Maybe they will give you a job. But this stupidity, this attempt to hurt Hindu sentiment, I compliment Republic Kannada for fighting them back and exposing them hollow.
Yeah, it always takes a republic to break a conspiracy like this. And I wonder why no other media network even tries doing that. Finally, moving on to another moment. Tahabur Rana extradited this year. Not many who were extradited to India, Rhythm, facing the last mile of the law. But yes, Tahabur Rana has been brought back.
Yes, he's been brought back. We keep hearing about what's happening in the cases in the court as well as the NIA Shavan that's investigating the matter, Niranjan. For years, his extradition was wanted. India did not just fight back, but we fought in international courts, which is in the United States. In all three courts, we won in every court. The government was clear. But when I spoke to the lawyers who were in the United States, they were very clear. This was diplomatically also pushed. And that's why in the last kick, we got this done. And Tahabur Rana, one of the core conspirators of the deadly 26/11 attack, is back in India. We stay with those visuals on that night. And I would like to tell our viewers, we were the only channel that night. Shavan and I were there non-stop through the night. Abhishek was there till 3 a.m., the only channel to be there the entire night, because we were not just giving the news that day. We believed that India's deadliest terror attack needed to face justice.
Oh, we were in the newsroom. I remember the newsroom, Rhythm. I mean, I remember the PCR. All of us went into the production control room, and there was so much noise, and there was so much excitement.
Energy.
And there was so much energy. I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning or 12:30 in the morning, and I think it was magical because it gave us hope that these rascals will be brought back.
Brought to justice.
But many rascals are still out there.
Pardon me?
They're mocking us. Many rascals are still out there.
No, they are there and they are mocking us. But the fact is, I was just talking about the newsroom environment. And I want to talk about that because eternal vigilance is what is required in a democracy. And we were so happy about Tahabur Rana. It was also a reminder that these people out there, we would want Tahabur Rana back. We would want David Coleman Headley back. We would want Lalit Modi back. We'd want that other fellow. What's his name?
Vijay Mallya.
Yeah.
Who called Rhythm impolite.
Yeah. We would like Vijay Mallya.
You're rather
back.
impolite.
We would get Mehul Choksi back. I think some of it may happen this year.
Niranjan, by the way, they are
you want to run
they're mocking when they're drunk.
Yes.
But when the effect of alcohol goes down, they escape.
Stay with those visuals also.
apologize.
Because this is him in the Patiala court. This is
Full
him
frame.
from outside the NIA when from the outside. Yes, Shavan, go ahead.
Well, in fact, this was the picture that was the moment he landed in New Delhi. This was the very moment when he was taken out from the jail in the United States of America in the custody of the FBI. In fact, these were the first set of images that we received roughly after 1 o'clock in the morning, the moment he landed thereafter. Now, of course...
And, Shavan, we also spoke to the lawyer who was there. He said that he never spoke with Tahabur, but he had actually sat eye to eye against David Coleman Headley in Chicago. And he said, I shook at the way he was radicalized. Dhyan Krishnan, senior advocate, he gave an interview to us after this. He's the person who's leading India's charge along with Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, who's going to ensure that we get maximum details out about Pakistan's role in 2611 from Tahabur, even though Tahabur is trying to come up with difficult petitions in the court. But this was a reminder of what India can do when we put our might to it.
Yeah. Can we run that clip?
Yes.
Run the clip here.
Over to you, Abhishek. All right, these are first pictures of Tahabur Rana, that man in brown, top to bottom with beard, looking the other side
seems
with
to have
white
a white
hair.
beard. We're seeing a white beard.
Yes, that's Tahabur Rana, with
that's the
balding
first
white
visual.
hair on his head. And he's accompanied, NIA sleuths are holding him tight. Shawan, more details if you have.
In fact, the NIA just released the picture. This was just moments after he was landed. In fact, you have 3 of the senior officers of the NIA. They're part of the investigating team.
These are all the moments. We've been reliving some moments. Can I request, please, at this very point of time, can we please... put a camera into our production control room, the place we love. Can we get a camera into our newsroom, which we love? And I want to say this tonight, that we really had a good time putting the news out this year. Like, I wouldn't say good time because the stories have been sad, but we are together as a team. We've come together very strongly as a team. And I think I want to say one thing to you guys, that you guys are absolutely wonderful. You're great people. We have a wonderful team at the back end. We have a great news desk. We have a tremendous production team that is totally into the news. And I think what makes Republic tick, you can all talk about it one by. I think what makes Republic tick is the fact that the excitement of breaking a story, of excitement of knowing we are doing the right thing. I mean, this is a year we've taken on everyone, guys. We've taken on the judiciary. I'm saying it clearly, right? You may or may not like it. We appear to be taking on the executive.
Appear to be.
Oh, yeah. Appear to be. Yes. We appear to be taking on the legislature because Parliament failed us once again with rather fruitless sessions in Parliament. We are taking on the corporates where, we've taken on the biggest corporates in this country. And there is nobody who can say that you have stepped back this year. And I think this is a great service that we've done to the people of this country and a great opportunity the people have given to us to share things. You feel as excited as you did 10 years back, Abhishek, when you walk into the newsroom?
Absolutely.
How do you guys feel about it? Right?
News for us is a lived reality. I mean, from morning to evening, when we wake up to the time we go to bed, and I think applies to everyone here. We live news. It's the way we consume news is different than the news consumer in the sense that when we look at an event, a news event, we are thinking in terms of how to take it to the masses, to the people, to
but
our
not
viewers,
without
to our
empathy.
audiences.
Not without empathy.
Absolutely. In a manner that puts nation first.
Yeah.
And that's something I think everyone should speak on. The whole idea of being in this, and I believe, Arnab, you would allow me to say this is news business because you have to run it as a business, then only you're successful. The whole idea of being in the business of news is that you have that torchlight in your hand, that searchlight in your hand. And as they say in the legalese rhythm, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I think that role that we have played, particularly towards the last month, but generally through the entire year. There would be so many unsung heroes, unsung stories. But every day they contributed to the news cycle in a manner that we are better as journalists and the viewers are better informed as citizens of the country.
Take it around, guys.
Yeah, Rizat?
I think there was a judgment, the Keshavananda Bharati judgment, that spoke about how we spoke about the pillar of the press and spoke about freedom and how it was a beacon of light. I think today when we're doing such journalism, Republic is standing out like a beacon of light for the public, for the people to get hope from.
Yeah, superb.
Yeah.
Aishwarya?
For me, see, stories have been done. But did I just hear you calling us hardworking? No, did I just hear that one?
This guy's going to change. No. He's never come on time. He's never come on time.
I always...
Niranjan
just put on the biggest story of the year. I was prior to everyone else on this table.
Aishwarya.
So let me tell you. It's on the record. On the biggest story of the year, I was prior to everyone.
Excellent. Aishwarya, you get a gold medal for that.
For a change.
The guy,
once in a while.
we forgive him everything because he's good at heart. So we let him get away with everything. But, yeah, thank you for that.
You did call us hardworking.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. You've done so well.
I just wanted to stress on it.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll have the prize distribution ceremony after this. Shawan and Shawan, this year's been great for you as well, right?
Well, for me, I think so. I'll take the opportunity for also talking about those who are not on camera right now, especially the desk here, and of course, our reporters who are on the ground getting us the most. And as you've been saying, that it's not about business of journalism. What gives us immense pride is going back to the way we started Republic Media Network.
Yeah.
I remember the fact that as part of the SIT team, our job was always to uncover something more than usual. I still remember we always had a suitcase packed, or to the most, what used to be innocuous, we were like, okay, now go hit that, find something more. So I think it's 2026, along with Nation First, Citizen First.
Absolutely.
I just want to end by saying one thing, Arnab. That you look across newsrooms in India today, there are very few, but you look across all of them and you won't find one constant. But around this table, 6 of us, I think there is a reason why we say this is India's strongest editorial team, because none of the loyalties have shifted. There must be something right that we are doing here at Republic. And look at each one of us. Our youngest may be about 20 years old in the newsroom.
Yeah. Gen Z.
Right? Gen Z. We have Gen Z in our newsroom. And all of them are so excited. And they're all here because they madly love the news.
But few more years, you'll have alpha.
That is it. Arnab, on a lighter note, do you sleep with your phone on silent, on loud, or on vibrating?
None of my phones are ever on silent. I just can't.
How many do you use?
I just can't.
It just can't be.
I just can't. I have quite a few phones. I would close by saying that we have clarity of intent. We know why we are doing this. Secondly, we are so proud to be journalists running our own network. And thankful to all of you for backing us this year.
Yes.
2026, here we come. As they say in Republic, the game has just begun. And I want to show our production control room. Can I show the crowded PCR out there? Take the camera along. Make it full frame, guys. At least when you're showing yourselves, show the PCR. This is the production control room, ladies and gentlemen. And behind that is...
Wave, guys. Wave for the cameras.
We are turning the gaze back, the PCR, and then we turn the gaze... Wave at everyone, guys. Yeah, that's it. And this is going to be... this has been a great year. It's going to be greater in the future. This is one of the PCRs of the Republic News Network office complex. One day we hope to welcome you here. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's bring in 2026 with all the energy we've got. We'll see you soon. See you in the new year.